Good evening and welcome back to Irons United. Alf, you are having a proper disco there, mate.
I'll tell you, I was getting my maracas out. I was loving that. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Right, first of all, before we go, no, don't welcome anybody. Don't welcome anybody. Before we go on, get rid of my photo on those intros. I do not look like that.
What you need to do is send me your new image and we'll get them uploaded.
No, I need to go on a diet. That's what I need to do.
That's what I need to do, mate. Don't worry about that. Listen, welcome back to Irons United. Tonight we have, I think we're calling it the mother of all transfer shows. West Ham merry-go-round continues. We have players linked to us daily. We decided several years ago we would bring you a transfer show update where each week and each day, if we're linked to a new player, we'll bring you all the statistics, all the goals they've scored, all the assists they've brought to the team, what they could bring to the West Ham squad if they were to sign. We never once turn around and say these players will sign. We just talk about the links, etc. We all know there's all the ITK news out there. We all know that the majority of them name 50 players and get one right every now and then. I mean, Alf, players galore. I tell you what, before we even move in, to give you the structure of the show, we've asked several guests who'll be coming on throughout the night to discuss potentially two players that they would like to bring into the squad. We will discuss a little bit about West Ham, but we won't go in depth about the West Ham squad. We'll bring that and save that for another video. Transfer merry-go-round rumours are kicking in big style, so we thought we'd bring to you what we, from the links that have been made, and or players we think West Ham realistically could target and bring in, and why. Alf, it's non-stop, the player links. I mean, I like the concept of what we do, which is, what do these players bring into the squad?
Sure.
But, I mean, it's a no-brainer to know that West Ham need to go into the transfer market if we want to try and progress and move forward. I mean, do you think we're moving forward under Moyes?
I think it's a bit too early to tell. I tell you what I do like about Moyes is that I think his plan or his plan to say, right, we've got to concentrate on our defence. We've got to strengthen our defence. And I think even this week it's come out with discussions with the board to say, right, okay, we're not really going to go for attack-minded players. We want to stop all that. Let's just go back to the drawing board, go with, sort out the defence or strengthen the defence. I also like the fact that it doesn't appear as if he wants to go for marquee players or just go for names with big price tags. I think what he just wants to do would go with quality, potential, more than anything, and that is not going to break the bank as well. So from my point of view, whilst it might not be a popular held belief, I think actually, or popular opinion, I should say, I think that's a good plan. I think that's a good move for us.
Yeah. Listen, we do know that there's plenty of you in the chat room. Just keep making sure that you comment throughout the show. We'll try and get our best to get onto your comments throughout. We know you're going to have strong opinions on some of the players that are linked to us, and if you want them to come in, discuss what you think the transfer fee will be. I mean, there's strong rumours again kicking about out of West Ham over the last few days, discussing the fact that we believe there could be up to £45 million be made available, when considering 2 weeks ago we were rumoured to have literally nothing in the bank. I mean, it just shows you though how wide of the mark I suppose a lot of these comments and information that comes out from the club is. Either way though, I mean tonight's going to have a bit of a theme, if I'm being brutally honest with everyone that's watching, and the theme is, obviously we've asked several guests to come on and discuss players they want to bring in, and there's a championship theme about the players that we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, is that West Ham fans coming back down to earth, or is that West Ham fans realising that you don't need to go and get this £65 million player if you can find... I'm not even going to... It's tough not to call it a diamond in the rough because it's not the rough league. It's a rough league to get out of. But is that us coming back to reality or realising that that's what we need?
No, I think. Well, yeah, I suppose there's an element of that, but I also think is that fans are starting to listen to what's coming out of the club and what's coming from Moyes, and they're basically saying, look. And also, I think fans have realised that actually, hold on, we got a championship player from Bowen, and he's arguably one of our best players right now. So actually, just because they come from the championship doesn't make them, a mediocre player, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's going to take them a long time, to hit the ground running. Bowen is the complete opposite of that. He came in straight in, lots of enthusiasm, lots of drive, and we're all for him. So, I think there's I'm sure there's a lot of fans that realise actually if we can save a bit of money, get some good potential players out there, and strengthen up the defence, I think we're onto a good foundation. Let's put it that way, a good foundation.
Yeah,
because we have no idea if these players coming in, whether they're marquee players, with 60 million price tag, or whether they're from the championship, whether they're going to succeed. We have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really kind of hit me today in particular because obviously we were asking the questions over the past couple of days. Who would you like West Ham to sign? And the more people that were coming through to me and giving me the names of players, they were giving me more than 2 names as well, even though we were asking for 2. And literally every player that was coming through was championship. But if you'd asked me that this time last year, that would never have happened, Alf. That would never been that not that level of player. Because I think the level of player down in the championship is good.
Yeah,
they're not proven, I suppose you could say, in the Premier League. But if you've got the right management and you can give players a run in the side, then it's it's a no-brainer to go down to that market. And if West Ham are talking about, let's just say, £45 million with the potential to sell some other players and the potential to bring more money in, what could you buy from the championship? Now, not all players are from the championship, but there are a lot. But I mean, you could bring in a shed load, to be honest.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think we've got to address 2 issues here. First of all, what is supposedly reported as how much money the club have got, or what fans, state, or let's say, people don't agree with that, we have to sell to buy and all that kind of stuff. And I look at this from a purely, a business model strategy to say, well, first of all, there's got to be money there. There is definitely money there because we don't really have lots of expenses at the club.
Yeah,
we don't. It's as simple as that. Every other club has got a ground to run. They've got to pay for policing, got to pay for marshal, stewarding, all that kind of stuff. We pay a fraction of that for our match day. Well, when we were playing. So then we're still getting the TV money. So our biggest thing, which is this is not a West Ham disease. This is every club in the Premier League and to a certain degree the Championship, is the wage bill. That's the thing that kills us. So that's probably where we've overstretched ourselves in the last couple of years, to bring in these big players and pay them 100+ grand a week when there hasn't really been a great return. So I think it's no surprise to me that there is going to be money available. It's no surprise to me that we're also looking at the purchases of the last 2 or 3 years and think, well, actually, we've paid a lot of money for these players and they haven't really performed to the level that we would expect. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's go into the Championship. Let's get some quality players, get some up and coming players, and let's see how they fare.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, listen, we do have a run of guests. We're hoping that the guests come in order, but it looks like, because of course, listen, if you get to know Stel, you will always know that Stel is late for every single occasion, for every single show. He doesn't turn up for drinks on time. He doesn't turn up to West Ham games on time.
Stel, buy me a watch.
Yeah, exactly. So through that, we are skipping. We came on a little bit later, but what we're going to do is skip ahead, and we're actually bringing on our first guest. Well, it's not really our first guest. I mean, he's Iron United gold. He's a Premier League pundit. I don't know if you didn't know this guy that's about to come on is actually, in theory, you are, and I know you can see me, you are a Premier League pundit. He's been doing Premier League TV for I don't know how many years. We'll bring him on, do another introduction, get anyone who's new to subscribing to get to know the people that do the Irons United channel. But he doesn't just do it locally. He's not from the UK. He's the other side of the world, Alf. His name is Richard Fassen, all the way from Joburg. Richard Fassen, brother from another mother. How are you, friend?
That was awful, mate. That was awful. Whatever that was just awful. Rich, hello. How are you?
Evening, lads. How are you lads doing? I'm fantastic.
Good to hear from you, mate. Good to see you.
Richard, listen, there's loads and loads and loads of people that we get new subscribers all the time. So just for anyone that doesn't really kind of tune in a lot, and you know, you've done loads of videos in the past and life and the way, you know, we all know that mixture of university, work, girlfriends, boyfriends, families, kids, children, etc. takes over. So Richard, you've not been on as much as you usually are, but just for anyone that's watching, fill them in, let us know why West Ham, and we'll come on to your kind of transfer in a minute.
Yeah, so obviously my old man's been a Hammer his whole life, and he kind of passed down the tradition onto my brother and myself, and we've just never looked back. I think one thing we learned really quickly was that being a West Ham fan is not about the glory, it's not about winning trophies. It's about the fans, and it's about the tradition, and it's about how fantastic the club is. And I think once you become a Hammer, you're just hooked for life. And I never look back. And luckily, through being a West Ham fan, I've been able to travel over to the UK numerous times. I was over last December, managed to watch 3 West Ham games, managed to watch Palace away, which was a really special game, even though we lost. But I just kind of felt what it meant, you know, just being with those West Ham fans on an away day and losing my voice after about 5 minutes. You just truly grasp what it means to be a West Ham fan. And for me, that was so special. Luckily, I've been able to be involved with Irons United. As Ant mentioned, I've been heavily involved with Premier League productions. So through that, I've been able to go over to London. And yeah, I just absolutely love West Ham, and I'll never look back. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure to, obviously, we've met in person, which is great. Share a bed. we'll keep that one for a secret story for another time. But Richard, we are of course here for what we call the transfer show. We're going to do it in short, sharp versions. We've already got the other guests lined up in the background, so we'll get started, Richard. And we've asked you and asked everyone to go through 2 particular players that you would like to see to come in to West Ham in the summer. So do you want to kind of start off and give us a rundown on maybe one of the players?
Yeah, absolutely. I've looked at where we're struggling, and that for me is at left back. And we've been struggling there for season upon season upon season. And I've been keeping such a keen eye on the Championship. And I know that the Championship's kind of the theme of this transfer show. And I look at someone like Rico Henry from Brentford, who's just been a breath of fresh air this entire season. He's young. He's only 23 years of age. He's an English youngster, super energetic, rapid down the left-hand side. And that's the type of player we've got to be looking at. We've seen how well Jared Bowen has done at West Ham. And I'm sick and tired of us splashing millions and millions of pounds on exports from all around the world, unknowns. I'd rather get players like Rico Henry in that are hungry, that are willing to learn, and that genuinely, I believe, would bring so much to our side. So that's one position I really feel we need to strengthen in. And I feel like Rico Henry is the type of player we could potentially get in if we are prepared to spend around 10 to 15 million pounds. I look at someone up front because obviously you see Seb Haller, who really struggles up top alone. I don't know why we've consistently played him in isolation, where at Eintracht Frankfurt, he was the type of player that fed off someone like Luka Jovic. I look at someone, again, from Brentford, Ollie Watkins. Absolutely top youngster, 24 years of age, 26 goals in the Championship this season. He has been absolutely phenomenal. And again, that's someone that we've got to be looking at to supplement someone like Seb Haller. So for me, those are 2 really class youngsters, English youngsters, that are the type of player that David Moyes will be looking at to get into the side. And yeah, for me, they would improve us hugely, exponentially. So yeah, those are the 2 players they're at the top of my wish list. Let me put it that way.
So again, we've been saying pretty much from the start that there's been a bit of a Championship theme throughout the players that the group that we've asked to come on tonight and talk about coming in. A lot of them have come back and saying the Championship, and we know that Brentford played Fulham last night and they got beat 2-1, and Fulham have been promoted, so congratulations to Fulham. But what it's done is it's opened up this big market of players that, you know, Brentford have probably performed better than what they should have on paper, but have brought in quality young English players. You're talking about Rico Henry's 23, like you said. He's a left back, started his career at Walsall. So got his move to Brentford, and he's had over 80 appearances since 2016. What is it about him? I know you talked about why the left back position. If you think about it, I know we're going to not massively talk a lot about the West Ham players tonight, but what is it about that potential left back position, and why Rico Henry and not some of the other players that West Ham have been linked to throughout this window or since the window's opened?
You know what, and we've struggled so much in that position for so many seasons. Obviously, Cresswell came in and he had a fantastic season in his first season at the club, and he played well in our final season at the Bowling Ground. But I just look at someone like Rico Henry. He's got such a freshness about him, and watching Brentford play, they are so quick and rapid in their build-up play, and that's something we need to learn as a football club. We are just terribly, terribly slow when it comes to building up from the back and wanting to go forward. And he's the type of player that's not scared to get on the ball, to run at players. I watched them last night against Fulham. Obviously, I'm gutted for Brentford. I would have loved for them to have got promoted, but every single time the left winger got the ball, Rico Henry was on the overlap, looking to get forward, looking to whip in crosses, and that's something I feel we've missed. So for me, it's that sense of rapidness, that sense of freshness. He's super composed on the ball, and I love giving young players a chance, and I think he deserves to be playing in the Premier League. If we could get hold of him, that would be an absolute steal. And I just do worry about Chris at the moment. I do love him as a player, but I just think his time may just be up. And looking at someone like Rico Henry, I think he could fill the void brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he does look like a quality player. You mentioned there he could be available for, you know, Brentford aren't going to sell their players when they don't massively need to for cheap money. You know, I think that, you mentioned there he could be available for up to £15 million. And if we talk about the forward, you mentioned Ollie Watkins. I think tonight it's being expressed. I think some news channels are breaking that the Brentford have got a release clause on him, and I think any club can get him for up to £18 million. Now, you know, I like the fact you've gone, because a lot of people tonight, and let me talk to you about this as well, a lot of people have gone about the fullbacks and have said that that's where we need to strengthen. But, you know, equally, Richard, and you make the valid point, we can't just rely on, let's just say, Antonio, who has performed well. He's performed fantastic, as we all know, but we can't just rely on him, and we can't then, you know, sell Haller because we think we've got Antonio in the wings and then bring in another striker and just leave it, you know, in theory we would have one striker with another new signing coming in. So what is it about Ollie Watkins? I mean, you don't go to the Championship, you don't score goals for fun and be a bang average player.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The thing is with Antonio, he shouldn't be having to play as our centre forward. And bless him, he's been absolutely fantastic. He got Player of the Month. He's pretty much single-handedly kept us up. But for me, Antonio is the type of player that needs to be playing out wide, running the channels and looking to put crosses in for the likes of Seb, who, for me, cannot play alone. And we should never make the same mistake that we did this last season. We need to get someone in that's going to complement him. And someone like Ollie Watkins is exactly that player. He holds up the ball extremely, extremely well. I watched him this campaign, the way he linked up with Said Benrahma. And that's the type of thing we really need at West Ham. I would love to see him playing just off Haller, flicking on balls, holding up the ball. The thing that he brings that Haller doesn't is immense pace. And that's something that we've missed with Haller, because obviously he's great in the air, but when it comes to being mobile, he can't really get around as quickly as someone like Ollie Watkins can. And as you said, Ant, 26 goals in the Championship is a fantastic return, especially playing for a club like Brentford. They weren't expected to tear up the Championship like they did. So he absolutely overachieved. The whole club overachieved. He'll be full of confidence. And at 24 years of age, he's got so much improving to do. If he's scoring 26 goals at the age of 24, the sky's the limit for him.
100%. Listen, for anyone that's looking into a little bit more about Ollie Watkins, he started his youth career off before he signed a senior career with Exeter City. He made over 60 appearances, scoring over 20 goals. And then he went out on loan during one of those seasons for Western Supermare, made 24 appearances, scoring approximately 10 goals. And in his Brentford career, he scored over 40 goals in over 130 appearances. So like you said, Richard, I mean, it's goals, goals, goals. And that's exactly what West Ham need. We need to shore up the defence and progress the forward line. Alf, talk to me about some of the players that Richard's mentioned there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The left back, Brentford players have really impressed me this season as individually. Watkins, he's an interesting one because I kind of put him in the class of Haller, whereas Haller is, as Rich said, it's kind of a slow twitch player, whereas Ollie Watkins is more of a quick twitch player. If you want to use the muscle group, if you know what I mean. He just seems to react quicker, be quicker. Now that could just be my impression. Whereas Haller, I know he's got pace, Haller, but he just seems to be ponderous, lethargic at times, and I'm sure that's a lot to do with the way he holds himself and his height as well. But I know they're two good players. They're two good shouts, and if we could raid Brentford for a few of their players, I think we'd be doing very well. But at the same time, I think a lot of other teams were trying to raid Brentford right now as well.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's loads of comments coming in. So, Richard, before you go, let's have some funny comments coming in as well. Anton, you need to light another candle in that cupboard, mate. Listen, I can't afford to have any more heat in this cupboard because I am boiling again, and at some point you'll see me stripping through at this point. So people are saying, yeah, Watkins is a good shout. If we play Haller, he needs a partner. Best deal of the year. There's so many comments. There's maybe too many to go through, to be honest. Richard, I mean, West Ham don't have a lot of money. So what do you think we would have to pay for these two guys to bring them in?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously you've got Ollie Watkins has a release clause, so I think that's more straightforward, around 18 million, which for me, again, is a steal. I know it's championship, he's unknown, but if you consider that we've paid 45 for Seb Haller, I mean, 18 million doesn't look bad at all. Rico Henry, I reckon we'd be able to steal him away for 15. And if we were able to offload a couple of players, maybe we do free up some funds. At the end of the day, there's no point even discussing this if we don't have a budget. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to ship a bit of the deadwood out. If we, for example, could potentially get rid of Anderson and get a couple million in for him. Lanzini, there's money there. Ajeti, there's money. We could definitely get something together. But as people have mentioned, it's not going to be a cheap fix. Someone like Watkins is not going to go for nothing. Rico Henry is not going to go for nothing. There's going to be clubs swarming all over the Premier League for both their signatures. So we're going to have to do some shrewd business to get either of them.
Yeah. Richard, listen, I mean, we have I don't know if you've seen behind the scenes, Alf, but we have everyone lining up right now. I think we're running a bit late. But listen, Alf, who do you blame for us running late? There's only one person you can blame.
Stelios.
Stel. Look, I know Stel has got his fans out there, but let's face it, really? He's a liability, Stel. He's an absolute liability. So if you...
Hey, boys. Boys, sorry, just by the way, fantastic intro video. I absolutely loved it. Looking gorgeous.
Getting the tunes on the go. DJ Anton.
No, it isn't.
Sorry, Russ.
No,
Russ,
it isn't.
sorry, mate. I'm not looking out for your job, mate. I'm not trying to take your job.
No, it isn't. Don't say that to Anton. No.
Richard, thanks very much for coming on, and we'll see you soon for another show.
Rich,
of course,
always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Richard is on Twitter. If anyone wants to reach out to him, get on there. Check him out on Premier League TV. In actual fact, if you're in the UK, you can't check him out on Premier League TV. But if you live anywhere else in the world, Ireland, etc., South Africa, Spain, Italy, France, USA, you can check Richard out. You'll see his face loads on the telly. I mean, I'll back it up. We went for a tour of Premier League studios. It was fantastic, Richard, when you came over. So thanks for joining us, mate. And see you soon. Take it easy. Good shout. Come
Cheers,
on,
lads. Keep well, lads. Cheers. Enjoy it.
Oh, let's get there. So, listen, before we bring in on our another guest, let's bring in someone you know. He's late to the party. He's late to the show. In actual fact, he's not 26 minutes late because we've been on for 26 minutes. We started 8 minutes late. So, I mean, he's over.
Shall I go and make room for Stel? Shall I?
Are you going to come back for your time now?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's bring him in. Here he is,
Stel. Stel, hello, mate.
Good evening, lads. Good evening.
Nice of you to join us.
Stel, we didn't see you.
It's either making the other half happy or it's making you lot happy. So I think I know when my bread's buttered on. So there you go.
Look, to all the fans out there, don't worry. Stel has arrived. Don't worry.
Now I'm going to muck the sharp completely. It's a shame I didn't come on when when Richard was on, because Watkins is a great shout, but unfortunately he's an Arsenal fan, and apparently they've got the rumor is that they've got the feelers on him already.
Yeah.
So
Still,
that's a real shame.
You're starting to sound like lots of famous ITKs online.
No, mate, I just read.
I didn't realize you were so in the know. It's crazy.
I'm not in the know. I just read it, and that's what I give out. I don't know. I don't have any insider knowledge or anything like that.
Where do you read it from, mate? Where do you read it from?
I get it all from certain sources. But apart from did you see my exclusive last night? James Tompkins wants to come back to West Ham.
Yeah, he's about 65, so you know.
Listen, let's get our next guest on. We all know him. He's got a fantastic show. Russ, My Hammer's 11. How are you, my friend? You well?
Oh, good morning, Stel. How are we?
Russ, mate, I wasn't even on and they were running late. I don't understand that. I did say to them, I'm going to be late. So start without me.
The spirit of Stel lives on, so yeah.
Russ, I'm so glad you get to know him so well. Listen, we sent him the link for you to come in on time, but of course he was, I don't know what he was doing. He was doing his hair or something like that. And he's decided, I've got a show I need to do tonight.
Wait a minute. Before we continue here, Russ, hello, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Sorry.
But what is with the orb of plenty? What is the orb of plenty? What is that?
I know. It's fine when I'm doing my own show because I can see I've only got sort of a little. It's the mystique is all gone.
It's like you had some frankincense in there or something.
I know.
Waft it around.
It's my mystic ball. It's who I'm going to predict that we're going to have signing for us in the next 6 weeks.
There you go. Well, no further ado, Russ. Tell us your players. Go on.
Tell us the players. Well, actually, funny enough, it was Rich made a good point about left back. So, for me, the two players I think we need are a left back and also a playmaker in midfield. The reason being for those is obviously left back we know is a position which we're not particularly strong in. Right back, I know people talk about Matty Cash and things like that, and I think Ben Johnson's got that covered. So for me, left back and a playmaker midfield. We desperately needed that sometimes in that since restart. That little bit of oomph. We seem to grind out wins rather than necessarily have that guile. You know, we've got the Souček and we've got Rice, and we just need that one in the middle. So the two people I want to, we'll start with the left back. Now, obviously, you know, people again, same themes. I've gone for the Championship because I think we've got the blueprint with Jarrod Bowen, and getting some of these hungry, ambitious players will hopefully, you know, we flip them in a few years' time and make a profit with them as well, which would be nice, making a profit out of a transfer anyway. But the first one is not Henry from Brentford or, you know, Robinson from Wigan. It's a guy from Birmingham called Christak Pedersen. There we go. There's one for you. And basically he was almost joined Watford in the January transfer window. 26, can play left back, but also can play left wing, so he can come forward quite a bit. Solid. He reminds me a little bit of Lars Jakobsen. Am I the right way around, or Jakob Larsson? Whatever it was. And also it would be cheaper. You know, I'm not being funny. People like Rico Henry and people like that, they come with a 15-16 million pound price tag already. I think you could probably pick them up about 3.5 million, maybe even less now. Obviously Wigan, you know, we said Robinson, he's going to be 1.5 million now because they've gone down. But I think he'll be a good signing. 26, so, you know, in his prime, and, you know, if all else fails, you could probably sell him for 5-6 million in a couple of seasons' time. So you'd make your money.
Russ, would you say that perhaps we need two left backs rather than just buying one?
Possibly,
you know,
and obviously,
maybe someone like him and Robinson or whoever else.
You could buy them for the price of half a Henry.
Yeah, exactly.
What's interesting there, Russ, as well, is the fact that you're picking up on, you know, a similar system to what Tottenham do, which is they bring in a lot of quality from sometimes the lower leagues or abroad, and if they don't make it, they can sell on for a profit. And that's something that we're never really good at. We could bring in top level quality players and make them lose value in what they do, and that's something we don't do. So there's something in bringing in players from the Championship. We have talked about the theme all day, but you mentioned there Pedersen. I mean, he's 26 years old, Danish, can play as a left back and a left winger. Yeah. Have you seen much of him this year, Russ?
Quite a little bit, actually, and that's when if you. And I think he's not under the radar, but obviously I saw a lot of him, and I read up more of him come January when obviously Watford was sniffing around for him. And he has a desire to go to the Premier League, obviously, like they all do. And it just didn't fall through, obviously, in terms of the transfer in January. So, there's obviously rumblings that he wants to obviously play higher up. And I just think he just seemed, when I've seen him play, he's been quite solid. And he doesn't come with a double figure price tag, and unfortunately at the moment we have to be a little bit shrewd, I think, with our transfer budget, whatever it may be, whoever we sell. I'm predicting how much we'll sell, but it's we'll have to wait and see. But I think he's a good player, and I think he's a solid left back, and that's what we need, a solid left back, I think. Right back sorted. Right back sorted.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? What do you make of the fact that do you agree with Russ on we should be looking at players like that to, he's probably one player we've not heard us linked to as well, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that you've got the knowledge to look at the lower leagues and any team and see what qualities they can bring into the side. That's the whole point of this show. Is it something we should be looking at doing, which is bringing in a lot more of those players who play, I suppose you could say, in the country and are familiar with the setup, and therefore, if they don't make it, we can sell them for profits. Something we're not clever at doing. We've never done it. I've mentioned it. I'm repeating myself, but what's your thoughts on Russ's first player?
Well, it makes sense because Moyes has said he wants to follow the Red Bull approach, and if we buy players at the right price, younger players or under 25s or whatever, and then they spend a couple of 2 or 3 seasons with us, and if they do really well, then you can potentially see us, unfortunately, will become a selling club again if we have ever stopped. But you can then see them going to the bigger clubs. I wish we were the bigger club, but we're not. So it kind of makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And if there's a desire from a player like that wants to come to the Premier League, he's already been, touted as almost moving to the Premier League in January. Makes absolute sense. Yep.
Yeah. So just for anyone that's watching and all the people that are lined up in the background, don't worry, we're coming to you. Sess, you are coming up next. Don't worry, I know you can hear me, so we'll be with you shortly. Russ, moving on. It's a good shout, but who's your next player?
So as I said, I think we need a playmaker. We need someone who can put a thread of pass and get the most out of Haller and Antonio, and really connect to the midfield to the attacking players. And so, for me, I think another sort of probably under the radar a little bit, a guy called John Swift, who's from Reading. Used to play at Chelsea.
Yes.
He's been, I think he comes still on 2 years left in his contract. But good distribution, good assists. I think something like 15, 16 goals he's been directly involved in this year for Reading, who hadn't had a particularly great season. But with Souček and Declan Rice, that's sort of a bit different. Yes, people will say Eze, and I'm sure he'll be mentioned, and he'll be awesome. But again, big price tag. You're looking at, they've already rejected £12 million for Eze, and so you're looking at 16, 17 million. Now, someone like Swift would be probably £3.5-4 million. The fly in the ointment is Sheffield United apparently very close to buying him, which again, the Sheffield United team is made up of picking the best players in the Championship, really. And so, someone like Sheffield United, if they're already sniffing after someone, then you would assume that there's a good thing going on. But I just think he's a nice player, and obviously Chelsea boy, so he's a Londoner really. So 25, England under 21 and international as well. Again, an under the radar person. Just try to jazz up rather than all the ones we've heard so far. But yeah, I just think it'd be a nice little acquisition. And again.
You mentioned that though, Chelsea boy, he went out on loan to Rotherham, Swindon, and then of course Brentford as well, where he had I think that's really where he kind of prompted himself up and got noticed, and Reading took him on 2016. He's had over 120 appearances for the club. And yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about him, but the whole point of this show is to give people as much knowledge on these players as possible. what player would he replace? How would he fit into the West Ham mould?
Well, I think he's a. You know how we're crying out for Lanzini to be the Lanzini that we signed him for, and it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen. And talks are we gonna, if we get rid of him, we get rid of him. But he's that sort of, and also we had it with Wiltshire. We wanted that guy who could put a foot on the ball and sort of make a pass and just bring in, because obviously Rice and Souček, they're very box-to-box players and they're absolutely fantastic at what they do, but you need that bit of guile sometimes. And obviously the way the formation particularly be set up is if we need something a bit more, let me put Mark Noble in. If we need something a bit more, a bit more sort of finessey, maybe playing a team that isn't so tough in the midfield, someone like Swift, you can throw him on and I think he'll make a big difference, just linking up sort of the midfield to Haller and Antonio and obviously the Bowens of this world, and I think that's what we've missed. We've grinded victories out this since restart, I think, and we've missed that guile, a little, and I think we need to bring that back a little bit now. We need to get a bit of skill in that team, and someone who can take players on, and he can do that, and he gets loads of assists. And so,
Still, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting one to me, because I'm looking at his stats. 45 appearances this season, 6 goals, 11 assists, which is pretty good. And when we talk about the Championship, we always talk about the Championship being a more gritty league to play in. So if you get 11 assists in the Championship, you're not doing too badly, really. And it's a good shout. I must admit, I don't know much about him, but looking at his stats, it looks like a decent shout. And yeah, he's available for about 4 or 5 million pounds. In this day and age, it's a bargain. And when you sort of think about, we've already heard about one player leaving the Championship, well, just being relegated, going to Man City going for 40 million. When you look at, Nathan Aki going for 40 million, you look at other players that are rumoured to be about 5 million. It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, really? Yeah. But, the proof is can they do it in the Premier League? And that's the big gamble with Championship players. But that's what Moyes wants, so it's a really good shout, Ross. Yeah.
And also don't forget that we're going to have a bigger squad, because if we're keeping 5 substitutions, we need options. And we need, not names just on the bench just to fill up the bench. We need some real viable options that we can bring on. So, I think we're going to be picking up a lot of these £3-4 million players from the lower leagues and the Sparta Pragues of this world and things like that to fill up the squad with some quality. Our first 11's good, I think. But obviously, once you get a couple of injuries, as we know this season, we're in a bit... up with Craig without a paddle type thing, and that's what we need to do: flesh the squad out with quality, not just numbers.
Yeah, good shout.
Russ, listen, thanks for coming on. Before you go, do you mind just giving everyone a bit of a rundown on what you're currently doing over on your YouTube channel? And listen, I know a lot of people will know what you're doing, but it's nice with new subscribers, people, etc., just to get to know what you're doing, because it is really interesting.
Sure, no worries. So obviously, as it says, My Hammers 11, that's a YouTube channel, and we interview West Ham people, whether it's fans, players, ex-managers, people who worked at the club, all about their journey, why they became a West Ham fan, why any memories, but also their Hammers 11, so individual, their 11 players of players they've seen play. So it's not the same, it's not the greatest 11 ever for West Ham, it's personal 11. So we've had about 130 odd guests on there. I'm literally, one's waiting for me to interview him in a second, which is great. And we get lots of ex-players, and it's really good, and it's only been going for about 8-9 weeks, and it's taken off, and we're doing loads of charity stuff at the moment as well for the Isle of Fight, and we're going to be doing some stuff for Newham food banks very shortly, and yeah, it's just a nice community where you guys have all the up-to-date stuff, the transfer stuff. My niche is nostalgia, so we go back and talk about the old days and the Pete Butlers and Johnny Sissons and all these players, which is really, really nice, and people really like it. And it will soon be on podcast as well, so there we go.
Oh, interesting.
Brilliant.
It's an exclusive. And obviously all of you guys have been on there as well.
Yeah, and I must admit, I've really enjoyed going on, and it's made me reminisce about the players that I grew up watching, etc., and made me even think about, and it's great listening to other people's players, in particular, like my dad who's been on, or a lot of the older generation, like Stell, where I get his history of players. and players I've never saw in my lifetime and would only have dreamt to have watched that Stell got to see when he was back in the 1950s. So yeah, it was a really good
there is an awesome one coming up very, very shortly, involving a guy called Mick Clifford. And he has a website called West Ham Match Worn Shirts, and he has 714 West Ham match worn shirts. And honestly, it's a brilliant episode because he does these 11 and he shows you the actual shirt that was worn by that player.
Oh, brilliant.
It's brilliant, honestly. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Excellent. Listen, Russ.
By the way, Russ, before you go, which of us was the best one? Which the best? Okay, well, I'll answer for you. It wasn't Stell and it wasn't me. So we'll give it to Anton.
Give it to Jim.
Jim.
We'll give it to Jim.
That's it.
Love Jim.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah.
Russ, listen, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and look forward to seeing your content coming on your show.
Cheers, Russ.
Cheers, Russ.
Get your comments in and let us know your thoughts on the players that Russ has spoken about. Russ, take it easy, mate. Thanks for coming on. Take care.
Much love. Bye-bye.
So that was an interesting one. A couple of players that we didn't really expect to hear. Players we've been linked with left, right, and centre, and two players he's come up with there. We said, Stell, before you came on that there's a championship theme, and the two guests we've had on and the four players we've discussed, it's all been championship players so far.
It's because we're kind of led to believe, isn't it, that that's what we're going to get. That's what Moyes is apparently looking for. That's what we're led to understand. He wants championship players that are hungry for the next level. So I guess it doesn't surprise me that quite a lot of the names that are coming up are from the championship. Yeah, so it'd be good to have one or two others that are outside of the championship, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me because we're all kind of conditioned, I think, to thinking that's where the transfers are going.
But isn't it funny? We have said beforehand that we are so used to being linked to, or as fans wanting the £50 million player, all the players' names that keep coming around the same year, each window. But suddenly everyone's excited about the championship, and right enough.
I don't know if they're excited about it. I think it's a matter of that they're accepting that this is the way it's going to be, because we're also continuously being told that there's no money. And the players that have just been mentioned on the whole, you've just heard a couple of players that we could pick up for a few million each. So I don't think people are necessarily excited by it. I think they're accepting of it. I don't know. Yeah, because you think when Pellegrini came in, we were excited because we were buying 40-50 million pound players, and now that Moyes is in, we're excited because we're going to buy £5 million championship players. It's. But
I'll tell you what, Stell, I'm with you on that one. But I tell you what, I am actually more excited now with the prospect of buying Bowen-like players from the Championship who are coming in and just giving it their all, showing all the enthusiasm, got legs that'll just keep on running the whole match. And as opposed to having players that would pay big money for, and they look as if they just can't even bother to be there. Mm-hmm. I'm excited by that. Yeah. I'm excited by players that actually want to give their all for West Ham. And yeah, they might not have the quality, but they'll give it 100% every minute of the game. And that for me is worth so much more.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, I mean, we could chat all day and go on non-stop, but it's time to bring on our next guest. He has been waiting for a while. He is part of Irons United. He does videos on a regular occasion. As of late, we've been doing lots of watch-alongs. He's been appearing on Alf's halftime show. He's got such good Premier League knowledge. And I've been talking a bit to him today about the players he's interested in, and it'll be interesting. I'm always intrigued to hear, in particular, your opinion, Cess. So, how you doing, my friend? You well?
Not too bad, man. Still living the furlough life. I'm just bored, Yeah. Still not working, but I'm just trying to stay sane. But the season's over now. But we've still got European football, so I've got something to look forward to,
Absolutely. And listen, Cess, I've said for a while, I've just mentioned it when I was doing your intro there, that you've got a really good knowledge of the Premier League football, and you do. Like you talk a lot about, and the style of play of these players, and you don't have to really do a lot of investigational work. So I'm intrigued to see about who you're going to talk about tonight, and let us know your thoughts. So, in particular, I think there's a Burnley player you're intrigued about as the first one. If you want to kind of go down what you know about him and who it is.
Yeah, I'm surprised people with this. The left back, Charlie Taylor. I feel that he's going to be an upgrade to Creswell. I think even though he got like 1 assist this season, and guess who that assist was against?
Who else?
I wonder who it was against. It was us. So but
what is it?
I feel that he's defensively solid as well. I feel that he's a great dribbler. He can cross as well, and the partnership with him and Dwight McNeil. That the majority of Burnley's goals come from the left-hand side. So for me personally, I think that he'll be like the step up for like Creswell. To trust me.
So you're saying a lot about. I mean, this is a Premier League player. He's 26, so again, there's a theme of a young player.
26,
started his career at Leeds United, went on loan to Bradford, York. Actually came up to Scotland to Inverness Caledonian Thistle, went out to Fleetwood Town before signing for Burnley in 2017, making over 70 appearances for the club, Premier League experience, etc. You've talked a lot about, I mean, your main priority this season is the left back, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what. Well, it also was right back as well, but I think like left back mainly because we've got like 2 liabilities there instead of 1. But yeah. Oh god, yep. I was just waiting for Stell's reaction there. I really was, but we can't go on because the majority of goals have been from like fullbacks position, and that's the reason. I feel that's the reason, partly the reason why Anderson's not been playing well, because he's been like trying to cover like Creswell and Masuaku, but I still feel in a way I'm still caught in 2 minds with Anderson. I feel that we need to give him another season, but if he goes, then he goes, innit? So we get the money for him. Screw it, man. So I'd rather like get hungry players in. To be honest, like the likes of them, like Lanzini, there he can go. To be honest, so that's my opinion.
What is it about this particular player though that you really like, and what do you think he can offer in comparison to what we've currently got?
Like I said, someone that can defend, someone that's defensively solid, someone that can cross, someone that can actually dribble as well. And I think it's someone that's very, very disciplined and solid. And I feel that's what we need. We need it in left back and we need it at right back. I feel with Ben Johnson, we'll have it with Ben Johnson, but like with left back, it's just liability.
Seth, do you reckon though that Burnley are going to look to be selling him, or is it just someone that you would desire to have?
It will be a tough one. It will be a tough one because I think he recently just signed a new deal,
right?
About a couple of months back. So it will be a hard one, So it'll be a tough one but if we had maybe if we had a certain manager,
what's the value, mate?
Sean Dyche, maybe he may come to us. I don't know.
Well, we're not getting Sean Dyche, so
that's not going to happen. Come on.
What's his value? Do you know what his value is? I mean, I can try and look it up, but do you know what he'd be worth, value-wise?
Well, he comes for 7 mil, so I'll probably say that he'll probably be about around like 12, 13, 40 million, roughly. So I reckon personally.
So, I mean, Seth, you've heard some of the players that have been mentioned tonight, some from the Championship, etc. Some are valued already at £15 million. If you had the choice from some of the players that have been mentioned tonight or your man, Charlie Taylor, what do you think?
To be honest, like if no one us, we'll take the cheap route. Let's be honest. We will. So we'll look for someone like a Robertson, like because his release clause is 1.5 mil. So I reckon we'll go along the lines of that. But if we be a bit like ambitious and go for like spend money on a fullback, then so be it.
Yeah.
The thing is, if we flood our squad with Championship level players, again, that's a big risk. So it's a case of a balancing act, isn't it? Between keeping quality, maybe putting the likes of Anderson in a different position, maybe a more central role with Souček and Rice behind him, leave Noble for those pressure games or on the subs bench, and then just bring in the likes of these quality players either from other Premier League teams or from Championship, just to add that bit of speed into the team.
Cess, I mean, good shout. We've got all our guests lining up, so let's get on to your second person you'd like to bring in, and he's quite possibly one of the most talked about rumours in this window so far. So let us know your thoughts and tell everyone who it is.
It's Eberici Eze. So I think it's the most obvious one, to be honest. What's not to like about him? He's a very versatile player, attacking midfielder. Also can play on the wing. He can play in the middle, play attacking midfielder. Like I said, 22 years old. This season, 46 matches, 14 goals, 8 assists. I believe that Moyes is a huge fan of him. We are battling with Palace with him at the moment. I don't know what the heck's going on, because I've been hearing so much like every single day. It's like stories changing, so you don't know what to believe really. Where he's valued, I think he's valued around 16 million, I think, roughly. So they have one of our players in Jordan Hugo, so maybe a little cash and Hugo deal may swing in our favour. You never know.
That's what I suggested as well, mate. We could do a sweetener where if we offer maybe 10 million and Hugo, they might accept that, because the understanding is that they're keen for Hugo to stay at QPR.
Absolutely.
It depends on how much they value having a playmaker, or do they just accept the fact that he's going to go anyway. So maybe if they get a cash deal with player thrown in, then that might sweeten the deal for them. Yeah.
I've got to say about Eze, I know there's been a lot of talk about Eze this last week or so. And I saw him at the start of this season, actually. He came over to Reading, and every now and again I catch a Reading game to look at different players as well. And actually, I went to watch Reading against QPR, especially to see Eze play. I just wanted to see what he was like. And I've got to say, he was all right, but he wasn't anything special. He was young, he was naive, he was giving the ball away, lots of misplaced passes. I don't want to be negative, but I think we could do better elsewhere.
He knew, Alf, that you had a link directly to Moyes. You're going to phone Moyes and say, David, I'm watching this player. He just had a rubbish game when you were there, mate, just so you're not phoning.
In all fairness, Eze just lives down the road from me here. So, I met him on the street while I was walking the dog the other day. I says, "Oi, come on, where are you going, Palace or West Ham?" And he says, "Well, do you know what I mean?" So
it's funny you say that though, Alf. I mean, from my experience of watching him, now I do watch a little bit of the Championship, but for me personally, he has been the standout player of the Championship, in particular, even last year. I took a look at this lad and thought he can easily make the step up to the Premier League. There's clubs all over the place that are interested in him. Now, I know that we are talking particularly about Crystal Palace and West Ham, and there's no other clubs, but I don't think they're willing to, values, etc. I just look at the player's quality. I get the point about the naivety. When was it? Was it this season you saw him now?
It would have been. Hold on, I'm just trying to think to get my bearings. It would have been right at the start of the season, I think. Yeah. It could have been last season actually. Yeah. I mean, I've lost my bearings a little bit, but yeah.
He really does have that ability to hold on to the ball. So he's extremely fast. He's extremely tricky. He was
very skillful. I'll give him that. He was very skillful.
And the fans are calling out, prior to Project Restart, about giving Wilshere a chance, because we need that tricky, pacey, clever footballer in the middle of the park. And that's exactly what this young lad is. Yeah. And the other thing is, he's only 22 and he's performing to the highest level. I done a particular transfer show video on him, and I was really excited about doing it because I had to just look into his stats, but I already knew about the player. I mean, for me personally, I would be paying the money. I completely agree with you, Sis. I would be paying the money for this guy. This is my choice of a player to bring in. I really think he'll add value, not just to our squad, but to our starting, pushing for a start. He's hungry. He is hungry like anything. a bit of history behind him. He started his youth career at Millwall, Boots, well, that stuff. And of course,
really.
Yeah.
And
Neil Harris said like he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. He was about to start working in a supermarket, apparently, or something like that, and then he was called up for a trial, and he got through. So you can make it if you have if you keep stabbing away at it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Cess, listen, mate, thank you very much for joining us. I know we kept you waiting for long, but really good
Not
players.
that long, it's okay.
really good players we're talking about there. Get your comments in and let us know your thoughts on what Cess was talking about. What do you think of those two players, Taylor from Burnley and Itzy from QPR? And get your comments and think. Listen, we discussed there. Crystal Palace are in talks with him. West Ham supposedly. What's the value and what do you think would get him over the line and get him to West Ham, Cess?
Either two things, either a cash and Hugo deal, or we just straight cash, like we just pay like 18 mil, I reckon, something like that. Just a little extra couple of million just to like get it over the line, I reckon, something like that.
Yeah.
I've got to say, lads, I'm sorry. I'll eat my hat once again. Let's save the 18 million. Put that money into someone else. If he signs for Crystal Palace and he proves to be a fantastic player, I will quit Irons United.
No, you won't.
If he signs for West Ham, I will quit Irons United. It's as simple as that.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. See ya.
Yes, mate. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you soon for another video. Okay.
Right.
Cheers,
Cheers, mate.
Alf, I couldn't disagree with you anymore on one player. He's been my.
Have you seen him play?
No, not live. No, not
exactly right. I'll rest my case.
I've just had a complaint on my mobile that someone is apparently we're delaying him because he's missed his slot. Well, he hasn't missed his slot. We're just running a bit late. Well, but let's move on to Matt.
let's do two at a time. Go on, do two at a time. I'll come on.
Next up is another Irons United regular, Stato, Mr. Stato, and it's Matt. Matt, how are you doing? Are you okay? You well?
Hello, I'm good, mate. How you guys doing?
Yeah, all right.
Also, he's also known as the nickname Welcome Matt because prior to for several seasons, because of the job he does, he was always good at getting West Ham news, but he was always late in bringing the West Ham news to say the group chat. So we would talk about it the day before, and then he'd bring it up the next day, and we'd all go #Welcome Matt. It was always brilliant. So Matt, listen. First up, a couple of players you want to talk about and what you'd like to see come into West Ham in the summer. Go for it. Let us know your thoughts.
So I think we've all decided that fullback needs addressing, and it's definitely left back more than right back because, as Seth said, we got two calamities at left back and only one at right back. I've actually gone for Ryan Manning at QPR. He's 24, and I think he's picked up 7 goals and 11 assists this year from left back. Something mental. He was actually a left mid, and about 2-3 years ago, he got converted to left back. Yeah. They were just desperate. They were just desperate for a left back one day, and went, you know what, he'll have to play. He got a clean sheet, and he's gone. He's literally gone from there. He's just signed a 1-year extension, or should I say, they done the 1-year option because he was out of contract. So he's got 1 year left on his contract.
Oh, I thought he had a year left already. No,
he was going to be out of contract.
Oh, right, interesting. Okay,
but every club now does this, where you get an option of an extension, the club's option. I think Antonio, for instance, has got 2 years left on his contract if we decide to renew it.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he was going to be out of contract. He just signed a new 1-year extension. He's been playing left back. He's one of the top 5 left backs in the championship this year. But he'd be considerably less, should we say, than Rico Henry.
Yeah.
They're talking about 5 million. And let's say, for instance, we don't sign Eze, you could probably look almost like a straight swap for Hugo. They still want Hugo. We need a left back. The guy reminds me of Creswell before he had his injury. You know, he's very composed on the ball. He's good at getting down line. He's got excellent, as I said, 11 assists this year, 7 goals. He's actually good at shooting from range. He is what you'd probably call a complete fullback, like a modern version. I can't see why we wouldn't go for someone like him unless we're going to go for like the cheaper option, even cheaper option like Robinson. You know, if we haven't got a lot of money, you want someone British. He's Irish. You want someone that's played in the Championship, that's going to give you that solidity at defence and something going forward. Which, let's be honest, I mean, I know Creswell scored a free kick, and I think he scored one against. He scored the goal at Chelsea, but it's something we need. You know, if we're going to keep one, you're going to have Creswell behind him, who clearly can't go forward anymore and has to sit back because he hasn't got the pace. You know, I think it's someone we're going to have to look to bring in.
Yeah. Listen, guys, what do you think on that one?
Yeah, I agree. I think he was on one of my shows, and I know you've done a show on him as well, and about his stats, etc. And I've got to be honest, it surprised me how many assists he's made and how many goals he's scored, all from the left back berth. And yeah, he loves getting forward, but he knows how to defend, which is an important aspect of defending, I guess, being a left back. So I quite like, and you're absolutely right, Matt. 5 million for him seems like a bit of a steal, doesn't it? Yeah, I agree with that.
Matt, what's we've spoke a lot about. I mean, that particular player. He can play midfield. He can play 2 positions, and obviously left back. And there's been a theme about the fullbacks. But I think you're going to, and then obviously we've spoken about a kind of attacking midfielder. But you're going right up top for your next potential signing. Fill us in.
If you look at all the ITKs and all the sources, you know, these days, apparently one of the big things we're spending money on is going to bring in someone to partner Haller. Now, you need someone with legs, you need someone with pace. So we're going to need to bring a striker in. Because even if you play Antonio up top, we've got no one else left. Jetty's halfway out the door as it is. You know, apparently Hugo's probably going to go as well. So I'm saying we take a punt on the absolute mental madman of Morelos from Rangers.
Yeah.
I'm not being funny. His goal record is actually pretty. He's played in 3 seasons. He's played 138 games for Rangers. He scored 77 goals and got 30 assists. So he's contributed. He has also got 4 red cards in that time. Sorry, 7 red cards. 7 red cards. I mean, we love a Maverick. You know, you look at Canio, Arnautovic. Arnautovic got sent off playing for us.
Maybe.
You know, the guy knows where the back of the net is, and it's something we really need right now. Admittedly, this one could be more expensive. You know, he's talking about a £17 million move, possibly to Lille in France. But Rangers just brought in 2 centre forwards for £6 million, so there's going to be a space there to ship someone out. And if Ajetti's stalling on this move to Celtic, can we send him to Rangers? Chuck in some money.
Yeah, really good shout actually.
30 million on Ajetti to Rangers. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a 2-horse race in Scotland anyway. So it's not he's not going to the best team. He's going to the second best team. It's something to look at. You know, if we can sell someone, we need a centre forward. And I'll be honest, I would have loved to have said Watkins, but I think anyone outside the top 4 will probably look at Watkins at some point.
Yeah.
So for me, the guy's got goals, he's got assists, he knows where the back of the net is. Yes, he's a bit aggressive, but sometimes you need it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got, apart from that, though, he is aggressive, but he does have an attitude problem as well. I mean, he played a friendly for Rangers against Coventry last week, and he got substituted, and he kicked off big style with Steven Gerrard. And, you know, you can't help but think that he's got Rangers around his fingers. He knows exactly what he can do. I mean, like you said, Matt, he scores an abundance of goals. Of course, I live in Scotland, but I don't massively follow the Scottish leagues, but I've got a really close friend who's Colombian, and I've always taken an interest in the Colombian national side, and he is a Colombian international player. He's not played a huge amount of games for Colombia. He has scored a goal for them. But I mean, he is absolutely lethal in front of goal. He started off his career in Helsinki. Well, apart from in Colombia, he went to Helsinki, and he scored some stupid amount of goals there before he signed for Rangers. Now, listen, loads of people can question the quality of the league, I can even hold my hand up and say that I can question the quality of the league, albeit everyone's argument to that would be that he plays in European fixtures. Celtic fans would turn around and say he's never scored a goal against Celtic. That's how they compare each other in this league. It's like
but on the other side of the argument, the best centre back in the world right now came from the Scottish Premier League.
Yeah,
say what you want. I mean, admittedly, there is very few players that do come up and do it, but there is quality players there. There's a lot of these guys that come from Scotland that come down and do it. Like I said, Van Dijk was that. He went to Southampton. Yeah. Everyone was like, and then he's basically carried Liverpool to a Premier League title and a Champions League. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the same effect, but if we were sitting here saying, he scored 50 goals in 138 games, I'd be like, he scored over a goal every 2 games, and he had 30 assists on top. Is there going to be red cards in it? Yeah.
He is an interesting character, and let's not forget Di Canio played in Scotland as well. And he came to England and did fine. So there's no saying that he wouldn't find the back of the net. But I think his temperament might be a little bit difficult to handle. I don't know what he's like in the dressing room and whether the other players get on with him. He seems to me a sort of character that would be quite fiery and maybe a bit of a loner. I could be completely wrong, but he
does have a lot of controversy in his personal life.
Right.
I don't know the exact story, but there was some story connected to his wife or his partner. I don't know if it was faking or being run over by a car, and it was the whole connection between Rangers and Celtic and all that sort of stuff. And again, like I said, I don't follow the Scottish football too much, but I followed him in particular because when a player's scoring goals left, right, and centre, you can't help but recognise a ability, a talent. The guy's been sent off 7 times in 3 seasons for Rangers, so he's missed nearly 21 games. The guy could have scored another 25, 30 goals, and his value could have gone up another 3 or 4 million. But I get the point that Matt's making. Like, he's a maverick. He is tenacious. He's small. Taking away his problems, you could go as far as saying that he's a Defoe-like striker.
Yeah.
From distance, he's extremely clever in the box. What do you think, Alf?
Do you know what? Everything that's been said, I agree with. I just think he's probably a bit of trouble that we just don't need. That's what I think. He's got the goals, he's got the talent. I think he could translate into the Premier League. I just don't.
See, the thing for me,
something about him says I just say no, because I'll tell you where I'm at. If you've got somebody who's getting sent off 7 times, then all of a sudden that means he's going to get sent off at least once for us.
Well, Thomas Repka got sent off in his debut, and he turned out to be all right.
We have people like Anautovic. He got sent off.
Exactly.
But that was before he started. Moyes got hold of him, and he started really playing well.
Go. Maybe Moyes gets a hold of him.
But that's to be seen, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a big risk. It's a big risk, I would say. But
it's a big risk. It is, but at the same time, I'm trying to find a centre forward that would come to our club. That's the problem right now. We're not exactly going to be attracting the big name, the big players.
No.
If there's an £18 million release clause for Ollie Watkins, and we offer that money, with 12 other Premier League clubs, we only finished above one of them that stayed in the league this year. Yeah. So that would put us pretty much bottom of the list. So straight away, you've got to find someone else.
I need to read this comment again. Defoe type striker with a Canio temperament. I love it. Sign him up. I mean, it does sound
sold it.
And do you know what? It would be a colourful. It would be just like
we'd probably love him straight away, wouldn't we? We'd probably love him straight away.
Yeah, but exactly.
If you could get 13 million and give him a J, because apparently he's going to, he's supposed to be going to Celtic.
Yeah.
You're only paying 30 million for him. You've shipped the Jetty off the wage bill anyway.
Yeah, but we're not getting the money for a Jetty initially because he'll only go on loan. Apparently, there's the clause is that if he plays a certain number of games, and I'm sure Sean will confirm this when he comes on, a certain number of games before we get any money for him. So there you go.
Well, listen, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Again,
cheers,
everyone, recognises Matt from coming on the show. What do you think of his two players he's spoken about, Manning from QPR and Moreles from Rangers? Get your comments in and let us know your thoughts. Matt, thanks for joining us, mate, and take it easy.
Matt.
Nice, mate.
Cheers, mate. Ta-da.
Guys,
Right,
really
before you put the next person on, he said, Talk Sport usually only keep me on for 20 minutes waiting. BBC Radio 5 less than 10 minutes, and we've kept him waiting for half an hour.
But that's because.
So shall we put Nigel on now then?
Yeah.
But
that's because he's got so much time for us, and
that's because
we've begged you to come on our show week in and week out, and we're so thankful for you coming on, Sean. So listen, let's just bring him on. Sean, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Sean,
All right.
Sean,
Jesus. Who's the producer? You book a guest for 8.50, you bring him on at 9.20.
Sean.
If Talk Sport can keep you waiting, I'm sure Irons United can.
Who's the producer? Come on. I want someone's head to roll.
Anton, who's the producer, Anton?
Sean, let me remind you, you've met Stell, haven't you? Several times at the Supporters Club. How many times have you sat and you've gone, Stell said he'd be here at that time and he's not turned up?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's all
So
I have to say.
So in the future, when he books me for 8.50, I should turn up about 9:15, or I have to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
At
least I know now. At least I know.
So listen, what you're doing tonight is coming to us with exclusive, in the know knowledge and transfer rumours that no one else knows. You're going to give it to Iron United, and Iron United's going to cost half the social media storm. Blah blah blah. No, listen, seriously, Nigel. Thanks for Nigel. Oh,
Nigel. Jesus, I'm going. That's it. Off. Nigel's sitting there watching this, and he's
laughing his head off.
Now. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Listen, tell everyone what's going on.
So, not a lot. I'm going to be a bit boring, and if you've listened to the podcast this week, you may have got a little bit. But I did get an update from a senior source today. And he I don't reveal my senior sources. And the person said, they're working flat out, but getting a big fat zero.
How many times have we honestly heard that in the transfer window?
I'm not going to do we've got no money. We've got to sell to buy. That really is true. I know people go, yeah. That's what you say every year. It's true. But guess what? No one wants our players.
No surprise.
A little bit of an exclusive. I spoke to an agent earlier this evening, and I said, how much do you think Philippe Anderson is worth in this market? And they said 30 million euros. That's 27 million pound. And I said, how much is Lanzini worth? And they said 15 million euros, which is about 13.5 million quid. So there's about 40 million quid between those two. But the problem is the kind of leagues we want to sell them to can't afford 100 grand. Both of them are on 100 grand a week. And it's really hard. I ran a story earlier about wages. And the Premier League average wage is 61 or 62. You go, the next league is La Liga. Bundesliga is third. Then you've got Serie A, and then you've got the French league. In money, how much they pay. But, it drops down from 60 to, I think, about 35. And then when you get down to League One in France, it's about 20 grand is the average. It's difficult to pay 100 grand wages.
So the two pictures of both Lanzini and Anderson in Italy this week are really just because they're there on holiday.
They're on holiday. Yeah, they really are.
But yet people are putting two and two together and believing
that. The first story I ran was because Football Insider said that he was in Rome talking to Lazio. Well, Lazio is in Rome, but he was at a restaurant with the Colosseum in the background. I spoke to the senior source. They went, no, he's on holiday. He's not spoken to us about wanting to go back to Lazio. Then his brother came out later and said, absolute rubbish, not true. The same with Lanzini. Lanzini's on a boat with his family, there's no suggestion he would go to Italy anyway. If anywhere, he would go to Turkey.
Well, Sean, there is one player that's sellable, and we all know who it is, and there's the comment right there. Do you think we'll end up selling Rice to raise any money for players? I mean, will we get to a point where, because we can't get rid of anybody else, we'll end up doing that?
That's a really good question, because all the players who want to sell are the players we don't like anymore. And guess what? No one else wants them. It's what my source called a soft market, and people are wise and they don't want to pay a lot of money for players that would be a gamble. And Lanzini and Anderson are not what other Premier League clubs are looking for. We've had a bid for a Jetty, as you know. It's the only bid the only inquiry, only bid. You've 4.5 million after 5 games, but loan before that, and you won't agree personal terms. So that is the only thing we've got in. But you're absolutely right. The only 2 players that maybe have got sellable value is Grady Diagana and Declan Rice. Now, the board don't want to sell either of those 2 players, but there's a however, and the however is it's completely up to David Moyes. And if David Moyes wants to have £20 million to spend and we can't get it because we can't sell people like Lanzini or Anderson, then he's got a choice to make. And that choice may be selling Diagana for 20 million and using that 20 million to buy fullbacks and a centre back.
And that is going to be a priority, isn't it?
But you know what? It's David Moyes' choice. It wouldn't be the board's choice to do this, because Diagana is the kind of player we think David Moyes wants. But we've got so many wide players, and if we can't get rid of them, you can't just keep on adding wide players. So, I was asked, what's the chance of Diagana? And I was told 70% chance he'll start and stay with us next season. But that leaves a 30% chance that David Moyes decides to sell him and use the money wisely to bolster our defence and bring in a new few faces. And of course, if we want to go one step further than that, it's Declan Rice. Selling Declan Rice for 70 million. There's a quote that you can see, and he was asked, David Moyes that is, by reporters about Declan Rice numerous times. But at one time, he used the analogy of, Wayne Rooney. And obviously, sometimes you have to sell a big player to realise your plans. Now, we hope he doesn't. The board hope he doesn't. But you've got the manager lives or dies by his decisions. If the manager decides that the only way to fulfil his ambitions is to sell one of our 2 best players, well, I don't know about Diagana being one of our best players, but a good prospect on our best player, then it's down to the manager.
Sean, do you reckon then that if we don't get the money and if he doesn't want to let go of Rice or Diagana, because I agree with you, I think he wants Diagana to play. If we don't, then does that mean we're going to start looking for loan signings and freebies? I mean, it seems the inevitable, doesn't it? And
it does.
One of the guys earlier mentioned a player from Burnley, the left back from Burnley. I can't remember his name, but maybe a loan signing for someone like him, maybe.
Well, or there's another idea, and Nigel and myself spoke about this on the podcast earlier this week, and I'm just about to write an article for Clarence Hugh, under Nigel's name, by the way, because he came up with it, and that is that we sign no one. We don't lose anyone, but we don't sign anyone. And Nigel and myself both agreed, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to start next season with the squad we've already got. And when I say that, let me qualify that. That means not losing Diagana, not losing Rice, not losing anyone, not losing Lanzini, not losing Anderson, but bringing back Diagana, bringing back Hugill, bringing back Holland, bringing back Coventry, and actually start playing some of these people we've got, giving Zante, Silva a chance, etc. Because and what Nigel said is actually you could start the season like that and see how we get on in September, because guess what? The transfer window is open to October. So what have we got to lose?
And also there's the extension as well. There's another 11 days for the domestic transfers where we can deal with the clubs below, championship clubs, etc. Is that correct?
I know that. Yeah, I know this ruins a transfer show to say, maybe there will be no transfers. Remember, there has been transfers. We've bought Souček. Let's not forget, we've invested 19 million quid in Souček. You know, really, Bowen was a summer transfer we bought forward as well. You know, we really do have no money. And if we can't get money for our existing flops, or whatever you want to call them, then it's a really hard decision to make. There is nothing down the sofa.
But you could say, sorry, go on.
No, I was just about to say, Sean. So if you had, let's say, okay, we've got no money, there's no funds going to be made available, and we're not going to sell anybody. Which would be your two players then to say, right, okay, these are bargain basement players that we could bring in?
Well, these are the two. Well, I bought one as a bargain basement, and Anthony Robinson at 1.5 million is my first one. And actually, Scotty Parker and Fulham have already paid for him. Thank you very much, chaps, because Fulham coming up to the Premier League meant every single Premier League club got an extra 1.75 million because Fulham were due a parachute payment of 35 million. You split that between 20, you get 1.75 million. Yeah. So thank you, Fulham. You've paid for our new left back.
Right. Okay.
I mean, Anthony Robinson
has mentioned him as well, actually. So.
He's an American international. I done a show on him. He was a youth prospect to Everton. He went on loan to Bolton. He was then at loan to Wigan, where he signed and played. He nearly signed for AC Milan.
He did, before his heart problem.
Due to them finding a cardiac problem with him.
Isn't that so West Ham? We take on someone who had a massive cardiac problem and they go, no, he's all right now. He failed a medical to AC Milan. He's perfect for West Ham. What could go wrong?
True.
It's so West Ham-ish.
Let's be honest, though. I mean, I suppose this is what's different for you, Sean, because you're always looking. It's good to hear your opinion on what you think you would like us to bring in. So when you think about Anthony Robinson, does that concern you when you hear about a problem like that? Really, like when I do some of the stats and information on players we're linked to, if I see that they've had a cruciate ligament damage 3-4 years ago, but they're still playing really well, I can't help but get it out of my mind because West Ham, like you said,
if he's got a cardiac problem and the medical people wouldn't let him play, and I'm sure we do a proper medical, so we've got to trust in our medical people. We've got to trust in David Moyes. These are gambles. David Moyes, remember, is trying to build this sort of Red Bull model where he gambles and brings in players that he thinks got potential, you know. And if Robinson one of them, and you get another, you know, few diamonds for 2 million quid, that's the model, you know. You throw away some seed money and go 2 million quid there, 2 million quid there, 2 million quid there. 3 out of 4 might not make it, but there's one Chem makes it. That's what I understand. He's looking for 22-year-olds that will bring down the average age of the squad. And so when you see anyone over 25, forget it, you know. He doesn't want 28-year-olds or 29-year-olds. He's looking for people under 25, and 22 is that sweet spot of the kind of player he's looking for. Not yet a polished article, but someone who's got potential, which David Moyes believes can turn around and make a great player in the Championship. And look, let's just remember, Bowen was a Championship player. Antonio from Nottingham Forest was a Championship player. It can be done.
Yeah.
I agree. You say if we're not going to sell any of our players, is there at least enough money to buy, you know, like an Anthony Robinson, you know, like a player like that, you know, there's Cedric as well, who's worth a bit
1.5 million. Yeah, of course there is.
Right. Okay.
You know, but you know, there's not 15 million. Look, we haven't even paid between us. Don't tell anyone else and your 8 listeners or viewers.
Everybody block your ears and hum. Yeah, go on.
Right. We haven't even paid for Souček yet.
Well, you know, what a surprise.
Get your interest-free loan. Sorry, your season ticket renewal in early, so we can pay for Souček, please.
Well, you know the one thing, if we don't sell any players, it could be a season where someone like Anderson might come good. You know, he had a decent first season. He's had a poor second season. I think Lanzini's finished, to be honest with you. I can't see him coming back. But Anderson, could be revived. It could be the season for him where he comes back stronger. I think I've read somewhere about Anderson. He goes through these spells where even for Lazio, he had the same sort of time there where he had a good season, then a bad season, then came back good again. So who knows? If we don't sell these players, I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's the end of the world. I still rate players like Anderson. I do honestly think Lanzini is finished, but I think Anderson's got another good season.
I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
he might go out loan to Turkey.
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
but Allaire,
and that gets him off the wage bill, and then we can get someone in.
Allaire, I'm told, will be given another year. They do not think they could recoup the money on Allaire. They think he needs another season to prove himself, but in the current market, they think they're not prepared to make the massive loss that they could do by moving on Allaire.
I like the argument. I like the argument, though, for not potential. I do think we need to bring in a couple. I'm not for going out there and spending big bucks. If there's quality in there for a low price or even for free, I'm up for that. But I do like the idea, and I think we said this when start of the pandemic came in, Stell and Alf, when we first done our first show. It was an opportunity for West Ham and the squad to settle in. Every other team in the Premier League is going to, in theory, have to do it. But it's giving us a player, because we know there's a core there of players, and I see what you see, Stell, and Anderson. I do really like Anderson, and I think if he's played in position, and yes, I know he's a luxury player, but when he's on form, he's unplayable sometimes.
Well, there's the good comment there. Give him a strike partner, and I think we'll see a completely different Allaire. And I think we've been saying that, and it's really interesting. When he's had his good games, it's because he's played up front with someone else. When he's had his poor games, it's because he's been on his own. And
Hi, I'm Jordan Hugill.
Oh, but
no.
The same could be said with Anderson.
How many goals did he score for QPR?
15. It is an interesting point, because we're talking about players from the Championship that we think could make the grade in the Premier League, and yet we've got a player who's just been in the Championship, who's scored a hatful of goals.
Exactly.
And we're all, and even I am, and I'm saying no, but you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah,
can't have it both ways.
Hit us with your second player.
Well, do you know what? And I didn't want to pick any players, but you told me I had to, because it was a transfer show, and it would go, I'll stick with what I got. But I picked Matty Cash. We have definitely had interest in him in January. We never put a bid in, contrary to popular belief. Look, we've had luck from Nottingham Forest with Mikel Antonio. We need a right back, and if we're going to have two, a left back and a right back. We lost Ngakia, who's, as you know, is going to now be announced soon for Fulham. Watford. And we need some backup. We know Ben Johnson can play left back or right back. And I don't know what you think of Ryan Frederick.
Matt Cash he's a converted winger to a fullback. My only concern about Matt Cash, I think he does look like a quality player, and here's my example. He has suffered 2 bad injuries early in his career. Cruciate ligament.
Perfect for West Ham again. Perfect for West Ham.
You seem to be going down.
Come on, Anton.
This seems to be your theme, though, Sean. You seem to be interested in bringing in a potentially injured prone player.
Who's had a heart problem, and someone who's injury prone and there's a sick note. I mean, if it in. No worries. I mean,
but Sean, you love that. You love that kind of injury-prone player, don't you? It gives you lots of articles to write.
It does, absolutely. Do you know what?
Lots of column issues, as the old journalists used to say.
Because you can ask Nigel when he comes on, but one of the things we said on the podcast about not changing anything is, it would probably lead to a relegation sort of dogfight, and we love a little bit of drama, don't we, in our lives in West Ham? It's not mid-table obscurity is a little bit boring sometimes. A little bit of drama, gets the blood pumping, doesn't it? What
I
an
don't know.
exciting,
I'd like a good cup run. That'll give me a bit of adrenaline
right?
flow,
What an
but not
exciting
another
eight
relegation fight.
I tell you what, if I never see a relegation fight again, I'll be a happy man.
Listen, I tell you what, I'd take anything right now to be back in that bloody stadium, and I'm not sure when that's going to happen. So we'll have to kind of maybe hope and pray for that.
Before we move on to our final guest, what do you think of this comment about Ngakia? I mean, what's going on with him? I mean, what was he an idiot to not take our offer, and now it looks like he's joining Watford? I mean, what's the story behind that?
Look, he's a 19-year-old, and I think he listens to his family, he listens to an agent. So it's difficult to be hard on a youngster, but he's got to look at his career. My understanding is Watford stopped him. I think he wouldn't have been so bad if he'd had stayed and helped us to the end of the season, because he didn't play for Watford. Now we've got to agree a compensation with him, with Watford for him, and it could go to tribunal. Probably will go to tribunal. But he's been led by an agent. I don't blame the young chap. I blame the agent. And
yeah, I agree with you there.
Let's see what happens to him.
But in hindsight, if he had agreed to stay on, we wouldn't have seen how good Ben Johnson was.
Well, no. Well, you say that, but there's another bit which he knew Ben Johnson was fancied more than him. So the reason the deal he was offered, I get in trouble for going into too much detail, but
you're going to anyway.
He was offered a 3-year deal, right? In the end, his last deal, not the first deal, was offered over what was reported, right? So over $8,000 a week, and he was offered significant starting bonuses, which I think was, I can't remember if it was 10 or 15, and an automatic pay rise every sort of $5,000 every 10 games. Now that is the kind of deal that Declan Rice was on. Okay, and now Declan's on quite a good wage, I can tell you. People still think he's on $35,000 or $30,000. That's just true. So it was structured in such a way that says, if you play for us, you'll start earning Premier League wages, but if you don't play for us, you won't. And I think that's the right thing to do. Now, we talked to Terry Wesley, as you know, who used to be in the academy. And Terry Wesley's always told us, even before this Ngakia wanted to leave us, that Ben Johnson was the real deal and better than Ngakia. So there was always in that mind that Ben Johnson was just recovering from injury and would take the place. But now that we know Ben Johnson can play in left back, it seems a bit of a waste that we could have one on left back and one on right back. But, hey, he's made his decision. It's his bed. He's got a lie in it. Do you know what? In one way, I wish the kid well, because if he does well, under the terms of the compensation, we'll probably get more money. But, there's a secret part of me that goes, you know what? You were disloyal to us, and therefore I hope you flop, which I know is not very charitable.
Yeah.
We've got a question being asked.
Yeah, I just think he's made a mistake with his career. I think he was in prime position there to see out the rest of the games. Yeah, Johnson was there, but he was playing well. He had a couple of really good appearances. The fans had taken to him straight away. He was in prime position to, make a name for himself at West Ham, and he blew it. Basically, he could have said, right, I'm 19 years old. I could wait another year.
Yeah,
either wait another year. Just wait another year and see what happens. Don't be in such a rush to go.
Yeah, and he should have learned from Defoe. I mean, Defoe later on regretted what he did with West Ham that haunted him through. And let's see where Ngakia goes, but he won't be a Premier League player.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, Sean, thanks for joining us. I know we kept you waiting, but
Sean, thank you.
You've also kept Nigel waiting.
Yeah, and we're a bit worried about that now. I think he'll be really upset.
He's been sending me videos and messages, so I'm sure he's picked up on you called me Nigel in the first few seconds. So he'll probably make a joke of that. But look, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is don't get too excited in this transfer window. I'm not seeing anything happening in the next 2 weeks, so I don't see any exits or additions in the next 2 weeks. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Is all I'll
Are
tell
you
you.
saying-
But as soon as you know, you're going to text message us and let us know, aren't you?
Of course. You'll be my first port of call.
Sean,
30 minutes.
I bet we
30
are.
minutes
At
after
this
I've told
stage.
everyone else.
Exactly.
At this stage,
Sean, are you going to sign off and tell us go to bed SW?
Yeah, I will. You want me to say that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go for it.
What,
Hey,
No, I
before,
was just about to say, consider
what, before
Sean
Nigel
just
comes
said.
on?
We're tell all our fans now, anybody who watches the channel, we've got no content now for the next 2 weeks.
Sorry.
Content.
Yeah.
No, you just
I've been
ruined
saying
our
shouldn't
channel.
tell people how sausages are made. It's my thing. You
We
shouldn't.
never
tell people.
do. We never do, Sean. Well, not all the time.
Listen, Sean, thanks for joining us, mate. Take it easy, and we'll get you back on.
Yeah, Sean. Much
Yeah.
appreciated.
Take it easy.
Give Nigel a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
Thanks,
let's
mate.
put this. Let's put up this. Let's put this comment up here. Never get excited. Learned that over 40 years as a hammer. I completely agree with you, Lee. Completely agree with you there. Pretty much just when it happens, it happens. I think. Yeah,
100%.
Should we bring our last guest on?
No.
He's not even ready. He's not even
I
ready.
think he is.
He is. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah, let's go
No, he's
for it.
not.
David,
He's
it's
Good evening, Nick O'Steer.
no, it's David.
McNichols.
Top of the morning to you.
McNichols.
It's my Nick O'Sear here. I've come all the way from the Scottish part of Cyprus.
Do you know what? He's been setting this up for the last hour. Yes. He's been setting this up. He's been trying. He's been waiting for his time to come.
Well, we got
Nicosia.
Nicosia. You know what? I think that statue is a bit too tall for Sullivan, isn't it?
He's on a bench.
It's on a bench. You still.
Actually, it's Sean. I don't know if you realise. It was just. He just bored the toss off of us for like 15, 20 minutes. I'm glad you kept the best to last.
Hang on a minute.
Right.
Do you ever see Sean and Sullivan in the same room at the same time?
No.
Well,
No.
there you go. There you go.
Yes, Dave. Yes, Dave. Look at that.
I see McNick has got an orb of plenty as well. Oh dear. What's with the orbs of plenty going on?
The orbs of plenty.
The orbs of
that thing to his,
the
his
big ball
face
thing that you've got.
That's his microphone, isn't it? You
Oh,
know
is
that?
it?
How's he
is that what
supposed
it
to talk to you now, live? He's talking to the people.
Live and exclusive. David Sullivan is going to give us a transfer exclusive.
I can't see his lips
He ain't
move.
buying
I can't see his
anyone.
lips move. What's going on? I can't see his
Apparently,
lips.
he's worked flat out and achieved nothing. I mean, we could have told him that 10 years ago.
I know the feeling.
I don't know if he was talking about himself or Claret and News website, but I mean, such is life, isn't it?
This is just like a follow-on from Monday Night Show, isn't it, for you?
Well, that's the thing. I nearly fell asleep listening to him. I had it all the other night, and I pulled him up on the crap he come out with before.
Oh, God. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me. I'll tell you.
Oh, here he is.
Have you earned your 100 appearances bonus yet? Of course, listen, we know that Sean's been on with some sources close to the club information, so now we thought we'd bring you on to see if you can correct him.
I was just about to say, to give us the real news. Sorry, Sean.
The real news is there ain't no news, is there? That's the
Oh,
thing.
come on, here we go. This is like rhubarb and crumble. Today, there is no news.
No, the fact is...
Rhubarb and crumble, that's an old gag. Come on.
The direct comment is I've been flat out and achieved nothing. That was a direct comment. I can bring it. He'll tell me off for doing it. I've got the text message on here. And it's like, well, nothing's new there, mate. That's what you do every transfer window.
It's so true.
Oh dear.
Oh well.
Nigel, this one's for you, mate. Just to remind everyone, we are live. Please comment. Sorry, mate. I had to do it.
He's waited like nearly an hour for his slot. And
He
then you
didn't
start
do
putting in his
that at all,
advert.
did he? I've noticed he didn't do that at all. Oh, come on.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He saved it. He saved it just for you. Saved it just for you. Listen, okay. Look, right. When are we going to get Gareth Bale? That's what I want to know. Come on. Listen. Come on. Real Madrid have said, go on, you're out of here. Go on, let's go. When are we buying him?
Well, mate, I don't even think we could afford his golf clubs at the moment, let alone like bring him over and play him in a team. I mean, it'll take Gareth Bale would probably cost us what we've allocated for the next 5 years in transfer fees just to buy him.
Yeah.
So the fact is, there is a problem with money. We all know that. People go a bit mad on Twitter, do this, do that. Brentford were flavour of the month, isn't it? And all their players. And then we sit and finally watch them. And I think, to be fair, mate, Valen Barami might be better than Barami or whatever his name is. But
it's funny you say that. I've got to say, I know everybody keeps on going on about Brentford. You're right. I've seen them about 3-4 times this season. Just on TV, and each time I haven't been impressed at all. I think, well, what's all the fuss about? I know they've been getting the results and everything, but I think, there we go, not for me. But then again, I'm just old. I'm almost as old as Stell, so I'm just old.
There you go. That is quite old then.
What do I know? What do I know? Look, he's sometimes he's just poured lemon juice all over his head. Come on.
Listen, the thing is, I get. There is a lot of good players in the Championship, but the problem is you need good scouts to spot them. And let's face it, we know we've had a scouting problem. So I'm not going to say we haven't got scouts and thing, but are we watching the right players? Everything's such a gamble with West Ham. As Sean said earlier, he sort of, took all my bleeding words, didn't he? I don't know why you brought me on after he turned around and told you what I'm going to bloody say. We did have the conversation. I did turn around and say that actually, if we don't buy them, sometimes keep your money in your pocket, have a look about. What I did actually say, though, was you have a look about till January. And what I said was, is that you bring in the likes of Cullen and Dean Garner, 2 good Championship players last season, even though Stell apparently wouldn't let me use them, as my 2 players. But you bring them in, you got Silva, you got Connor Coventry. What you do is you keep the nucleus of the players that you've got, you keep them. You bring in, you say to the best of the youth team, right, you're the best of the youth team. Now's your chance. We ain't got money to buy players. Let's see what you can do. Keep your money in your pocket till January, and if need be, then go out and find yourself a Souček and a Bowen.
I would agree with you on Dean Garner. I think Cullen's time has come and gone, to be quite honest with you. I think
he ain't had a time, though, has he? No disrespect still.
Yeah, but he's 3, 20 now, 24 years old, and he still hasn't broken into.
He's still too young.
I know, but for me, I think I'd be more excited by Connor Coventry than I would be Cullen, to be honest with you. I know they love him in Charlton, but it's kind of what I say about Hugill. I think maybe Cullen has found his level, and I'm not sure he'll be able to cut it in the Premier League. I think I'd be more interested to see if Connor Coventry can do so, rather than Cullen, to be honest. But a couple of seasons back, we were all talking about Cullen being Noble's successor. But if he was that good, we wouldn't have kept loaning him out, I think, is what I'm thinking. He's been loaned out for 2 seasons in succession now. And I just don't know. Maybe Moyes fancies him over some of the other managers that have managed him.
The thing I would say to that still is, how old's Bowen?
23, 22.
Right, so roughly the same age as Cullen?
Yeah.
Playing in the Championship?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, mate.
Right, so actually, and he's he was loved at Charlton, got rave reviews playing in there. So therefore, you would think if Cullen wasn't a West Ham player, he's possibly the type of player that the scouts would be looking at, the same as Grady D and Garner. So actually, why bother going out and buying players? Let's try what we've got. You know, there's not a lot of money about generally. You know, Arsenal just are laying off 50 people, you know,
Yeah, I heard
because of
that
the
too,
downturn, you know, so that sort of tells you where football is going.
Yeah.
Tighten your belts time, people. Especially after lockdown and all the food we've been eating. But it's especially Sean. Did you notice that? I heard that the TV puts on £10. Sean, if you're watching, I think it put 30 on you, son. Dear oh dear. Len's going to have to get some more crayons out to make you a bit wider in the face. So,
yeah, but he's still going to be claiming free food, free school dinners and all that sort of stuff, though, isn't he?
Well, mate, I'll tell you what. I remember school dinners. I think Sean hit a dinner lady. I don't know. Across the road. You know, when he went to come across the road, he probably ate the lollipop that the woman was holding up. You know,
it was 3 scoops of mashed potatoes and Sean every day. That's what it was.
Here's one. Here's you saying it coming from Twiggy.
Well, listen,
we have brought you on, of course, Nigel.
I'm an advertisement for my food, you know. You don't sell pie mash and look like Twiggy, do you? Jesus.
Listen, we have brought you on to discuss a couple of players that you would like to see.
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, we forgot about that with Sean. I did tell you the other day, didn't I? It takes me 10 minutes to say hello.
So go for it. Get us your first one. What's your thoughts?
I've forgotten who they were now. Rhian Brewster.
Yep.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. I've got. Yeah, you got him. Well done.
Yep. So Liverpool youngster.
Yeah, he's been on loan at Swansea. Yep. I believe he scored 10, 11 goals. He's 18, 19. Liverpool may not sell him. We could get him on loan though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a right back. Yeah.
No, he's a striker still.
Oh, here we go. Look at this.
He's got 11 goals in the Championship.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, right back in the Championship.
Guys, listen. See you later, mate.
There you go. Look at that.
He's back. Please.
I've seen his comment.
Stell does his weekly show with God knows where he gets his stats from. He tells you that players are strikers. They're probably goalkeepers. They probably don't play in the Turkish league. They probably play in the French league. We apologise, but keep on watching them because it's very interesting.
I tell you what, he must be doing something right because Sean finally brought up that Argentinian right back that Stell's used.
Oh, Montiel.
10 weeks, right? Every week, Stell's done like Claret and You, classic Claret and You. He comes on, he tells you about an Argentinian right back, and then says, "No, we ain't going to sign him." What are you fucking telling us for then? That's like Claret and You when they write a report. Did you hear? And then 2 hours later, they went, "Oh, that Sun report was rubbish." By the way.
Yeah, but mate, you know, I told you where I get all my information from, and when it's there, you go, "Oh, fuck me, it's Montiel again." I've got to include him, you know.
Oh no, you've had the picture made of him, haven't you? And you're getting your money's worth out of it. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Dear, oh dear. But anyway, Rhian Brewster, back to my player.
Yeah.
He is
the right back from Liverpool.
Yeah, from Liverpool on loan at Celtic. On loan at Celtic. On loan at Swansea. That's because I'm looking at me, Nick. On loan at Swansea, got good goals. He played for the under-17s when we won the World Cup in England, and he was top scorer man of the tournament. You know, guess where he's from? Liverpool player. Where's he from?
Go on.
Chadwell, which means nothing to London, but it's a sort of East of London. Well, you may remember Chadwell. We used to train there. Yeah. But that's where he's from. Could be a bit of an homecoming. I think we could try and get him on loan. I think Liverpool
interesting shout.
Thinking, but at the end of the day, he's a type of youngster we could take a punt on.
There you go. Neil agrees with me. We'd probably play him as a right back because we've got a tendency to do that, haven't we?
And one other reason is I bought 20 shares in him on Football Index about 6 months ago. And I think if he comes to us, his price may go up a bit more.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
dear!
No,
Shameless, absolutely
no,
That's
shameless.
what I've got him on. Dear.
No, I've got to say, I think you've been watching too much Bruce's Millions.
Ah.
Mate, honestly. No, come on. It's just, yeah, I know. It's just.
He goes
He ain't coming to us. He ain't coming to us. No chance.
It's interesting to know that you've gone for a forward, though.
Well, everybody's game the
Defenders.
defenders and everything else, aren't they?
What about Slimani? Whatever his name was. He went from Liverpool to Bournemouth. What about him? He was a good prospect, wasn't he?
Liverpool to Bournemouth, you're thinking Solanke.
Solanke, that's the word I'm thinking, not Slimani.
Slimani, you got the tone on your brain again, haven't you?
Where does Slimani go
Apologise for
to?
Alf and Stell tonight. They have no idea what's going on. I don't even know if they know what they're talking about tonight. So we'll just continue the show. Actually, hold on a minute. We'll get this one. This will be better. There you go. Nigel, how you doing, mate? You okay? You keeping well?
Oh, dear. You know,
Yeah. No, listen, it is interesting. You feel like we need to strengthen up there. I do as well, personally. Obviously, we can't.
What's the problem? And this is the age-old problem. Do we concede too many goals or do we not score enough? And I'll tell you what I would rather. I would rather concede 60 goals and score 70. That's what I would rather do. So let's get the forwards in and let's get some goals. Because goals is fun, people.
Yeah.
Well, you're right in that. We do need, especially after the last few years, we definitely do need a bit more fun back in the.
We need a season where we finish 10th, we get to the semi-final of the cup, and we lose to Leicester 5-4, but beat Man City 4-1. You know,
that's I agree.
Games, you know, it's been. I remember walking out after the last season of bowling. It was the first game where we lost. Was it 4-3 to Leicester? And I walked out of there and I bumped into a bloke who used to do the KUMB podcast, James, and he knew I was always banging on about we need entertaining football, and he went, "Oh, this is what you wanted, innit?" Because I wanted Allardyce out, you know, and here we are. We've just been beat 4-3, and I went, "Well, you're damn straight. Didn't you enjoy that game of football?" Yeah, we got beat 4-3, but what game of football it was. We go to football for enjoyment, you know, and this is the thing I think a lot of football fans do lose sight of. Football's supposed, when you pay money to go and watch it, it's for enjoyment. That's one thing I say.
Well, it's entertainment. It's supposed to be entertaining, isn't it?
And you've got to enjoy it. And if it's all about winning, it's just about the result. Save your money, sit at home and switch the telly on at 5 o'clock. They'll tell you what the result was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's my favourite customer. Look at that. Don't worry about that.
By the way, everybody, we don't like to advertise anybody's private endeavours here. No, not at all. Now, Nigel can be found from Monday to Friday.
I'm gonna keep Dave with me because he's better than Sean. To be fair, he talks more sense and he ain't said a word yet.
Bobblehead Dave, love it. Love it.
I did have bobblehead David Gold as well, but I dropped him and his head fell off.
Are you sure? Are you sure you dropped him, mate? Are you sure?
It was, mate. These are like collectors' things. You try and get hold of these now, you know, and you think this is the type of tat that I love.
It's about as rare as his wallet, isn't it? That thing.
Well, what, Sean's or Dave Sullivan's?
Well, maybe both. Who knows?
Similar to yours still.
Well,
I heard your comment the other night, mate. That was rather cheeky.
Nigel, who's your second player?
I've forgotten. Cantwell, wasn't it? Noel Cantwell used to play for us in the 50s. Went to Man United after the Busby Babes all sort of wiped out, and he captained them in the FA Cup. I don't know if he's related. And to be fair, I had to pick two, and I don't even know his first name. What's his first name? Todd. There you go. We've never had a Todd play for West Ham, have we?
And there's a reason for that.
If anyone knows, you'll know.
There is a reason why we've never had a Todd play for.
I mean, the club shop may have like a load of D's left over, And he's got 2 in his name. So if we can convince the kids to have Todd on the back of their shirts, we can punt a few of them D's out that we got hanging around.
Yeah. or you reverse the letters and just call him Dot. There we go. He's saying boy, lovely. Or girl. Whatever. Where was he born? Then where was Todd born? Don't say he was from Canning Town or somewhere.
Just around the corner from the bowling.
Actually, that's a good question. I think he is a boy of Norwich, isn't he? Or up that way. I don't know. He looks like it with that haircut he's got. I just see him the other week with his plaques.
He drives a tractor, does he, or something?
Well,
you know.
He's 22-year-old midfielder for Norwich. Of course, Norwich have been relegated this year, but he does have and possess quality. I mean, he does look like a really good player, a good on-the-ball player. He's had a few injuries this season, but he scored a few goals in the Premier League. It does look good. It does. I think a lot of people thought he was lightweight when he first came into the Premier League, but he completely, took that one away and could easily step up to the mark. At the start of the season, between him and Pukki, between them, they were scoring goals. They were assisting each other. So, they both have great ability. Well, have you seen a lot of them then, Nigel?
Yeah, actually, I've watched him. I know he missed the end of the season because of split ends, but apart from that, he's a ball-playing midfielder, bit of quality. And, perhaps he is someone that could step into the Lanzini role, back up for Fornals or dovetail with Fornals. People forget we have got a good 11 already. And this is what I was saying to those that do listen to the podcast, the 7 of you out there, or, 5 minus you 3. Obviously, you 3.
Hey, look, the faithful 7.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So, we have got a good 11. We need to supplement them. And that's why I was saying about pick out the best of the young kids. Go, right, because, I did drop a faux pas. I wondered if the January transfer window was still in January. Of course, its official title, Sean pointed out, is the winter transfer window. But the transfer window don't shut till October. So we're going to have 3 or 4 games where we can see how we bed in. We all know the real bit of the transfer window is going to be the last week of September up until October. Nobody's really going to do anything. Desperation stakes. And if the winter transfer window is still in January, you've only got, 2.5 months till you can start buying players again.
Yeah, very true.
It may give you a bit of a leeway where you can take a punt and a gamble and see where we are. At the end of the day, I know it's mad. At some point, Jack Wilshere will be fit for his 4 games. Hopefully, they'll be at the start of the season. And we can, we can bring it, so there's a lot of people that are at the club already that we can sort of muck about with.
Look, but Nudge, haven't we always said this, though, that on paper, we've got a really good squad, or certainly a first 11 on paper. So maybe your thinking is actually not way off the mark. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just need to consolidate, just keep what we've got, keep the players that we've got happy, maybe just supplement with a couple of players, just some bit of youthful exuberance. Maybe, in fact, not even sign anybody, just go down to the under-23s, bring those lads up, and all the players that we've got out on loan, whichever they are, bring those back, and away you go. We'll be fighting fit.
I kind of agree with you. I think we actually do have a strong squad. Any other time, I think if the times weren't the economies weren't as bad as they are now, I think Anderson would go to a reasonably big team in Europe. Lanzini maybe not, but only because he's had one bad season. We're not going to get our money back on either Allaire or Anderson. But they are good players. I mean, I know a lot of fans really can't stand Anderson. They call him lazy. They think Allaire's no good, etc. But you don't come from the leagues that they've come from. Allaire scored. What did he score last season? 20-odd goals, 25 goals, and assisted in God knows how many. You don't come from that and then become shit overnight. They are good players. Anderson is a good player. No, mate, I can see you squirming.
I'll tell you why I'm squirming, because look at Haller's stats. You've picked Haller's stats from the season before we signed him.
Yeah.
And it's called Pot Kettle Black, Sean. So, Haller's stats before we signed him. Look at the season before that. Didn't really do a lot. So when we bought him, the More Than Just a Podcast German Bundesliga correspondent, EB, told me when I said to him, "What's this Haller like?" And he turned around and said, "Let's hope we get the Haller of last season and not the Haller from before that."
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's possible that Frankfurt it works because of those. He was in that front three.
Right.
That he had them two working off of him. He ain't had that luxury at West Ham.
But I think this is the point. I think if we play him to his strengths, if we play someone up front with him, you will see a decent LA. I'm looking at his 17-18 stats. 36 appearances, 13 goals, 7 assists, which really ain't bad. And then the season just before we bought him, come on, it was better. But,
Wikipedia never knows when you want it, does it?
The season just before we bought him, 20 goals, 41 appearances, 20 goals, 12 assists. So I think those 2 seasons weren't that bad. And then we bring him over and we say to him, right, you're going to play up front on your own. And then we get 7 goals out of him. And everyone's going on about how crap he is. I think my point is you don't become a crap player overnight. You become crap if you're not being utilised in the right way. So I think, I'm kind of with you on this. If we don't sell anyone and if we don't buy anyone, I actually don't think it's the end of the world because we have got some class players in our squad. No matter how bad a season they've had just now, we've got some very, very, very good players in our squad. We didn't buy Anderson for 36 million on a whim. We bought him because he was the fastest player in Europe. Was he the fastest player in all the European leagues? And he was he was scoring goals and making assists for Lazio.
I'll tell you what, if he was the fastest, I want him drug tested, mate, because there's something not working right at the moment. I don't think speed is one of his things.
Brain, that's all. He's just got a fetlock's brain. He'll be back.
With Anderson, what I would say is that one great season don't make a player world class.
No, not saying that. No,
one bad season don't make a player rubbish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I remember we did a show ages like earlier in the season where Moyes had just taken over, and he had Bowen, Lanzini, Anderson, and another player on the bench, and we did a thing said 127 million pounds worth of talent on the bench, and we were talking about when is Moyes going to play them. Now we were going on about these players being our big talents at the beginning of the season. I agree with you, mate, because they've had some of them pretty bad seasons. It doesn't make them bad players. I think the only one that I would sort of stick with is Lanzini, because we've seen. I think the last time he was good was probably because before his big injuries, and he doesn't look like the player he once was. But I think Anderson and Allaire could do the job for us. I actually really do. We're talking about going and buying this player and that player to replace them, but I think they're both very decent players, and you play them in the right way, and I think we'd see good season out of them, to be honest with you.
If we had to get somebody else to partner Haller, though, to actually say, right, okay, let's try and play to his strengths. Let's see if we can get somebody alongside him. Out of the players that could be available, which one player would suit Haller right now?
In the squad we've got?
No. If we had to bring another player in, we haven't got anybody right now. We need somebody in.
Money, no object.
Oh, let's say 20 million.
I know who you're going to say. From Real Madrid.
Yeah,
his ex-partner. No. His ex-partner from Real. Well, apparently they want to put him out on loan. Jovic. They want to. Real Madrid want to send him out on loan.
Okay, and so there's one. But let's say we can't. It's not. I'm talking about somebody who's already playing here.
Well, I'm going to go with what you've been saying, Nigel. Diangana. You turn him into a number 10. Play him just behind Allaire. I reckon that'll work. I really do.
Okay.
Because I can see that happening. We talk about we've got too many wide players. I actually think Anderson can do that job. I just don't think Anderson's got the legs for it. I just don't think
he doesn't strike me. He doesn't strike me as the kind of player who's going to play up front with lots of energy. who's going to be running off the ball. I just don't see it.
Well, I remember him.
The problem you got is that with our defenders, with our fullbacks, we all know that there can be a problem. Fredericks is good for pace. Defending is he's probably 60-40. I won't say 50-50. 60-40 is defender. Same for Creswell. So they need the protection in front of them. Yeah. Whoever's got Anderson in front of them ain't getting any protection. Yeah. And that's the problem you get when you play Anderson out wide. He ain't going to tackle back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he should be in the middle.
That's what I'm saying. So therefore, you could put him in the middle. The problem with Anderson is we've got sort of 4 nails already. We've got 4 nails. We've got Anderson and we've got Lanzini. There's 3 players there who really we think don't really want them out wide, do we?
No.
But they can't all play in the middle because we've got Souček, right?
But the irony is Antonio can play out wide and then you can play one of those players in the middle just behind Haller. And even that would work because you know that Antonio, just like Bowen, they're going to drop and they're going to help the defence. So, I just think it's how you utilise the players. And I think if Moyes stays with a one up front, I think Haller is going to have another problematic season.
So would you start the season with Antonio, the 3 of you? What would you start the season?
No, not on his own. Absolutely not.
I think he should play up front with Haller.
Yeah, but then I don't think there's still enough there, though. Like, I think we can't rely solely on. I mean, is Antonio now a converted striker? Is that going to be his long-term position at West Ham? Will it be that he'll have a run of games where he doesn't perform well and he's dropped, and then he loses his confidence again, and then we've got to rebuild this player up top? Because let's not get this wrong. He has played up top before and dropped back into his position, and then went back up top again. Yeah. And it worked the second time round.
Ken Hammer's made a good point because I was going to mention exactly this. When Anderson played away at Arsenal as a number 10, he was excellent. He was absolutely, he was really good in that game, and we're all praising him. And we thought that was going to really that was going to be his position, and maybe just playing him out left just simply doesn't suit him. Simple as that. So playing him as a number 10. I think could work, and I think with someone like Haller, I think they'd strike up a really decent understanding. To be honest, I really do.
Let me ask you this then: if we went raiding for in the teams that just got relegated, for anybody to put up there with Haller, who would you have? If we could afford them, that's it. If the money was there to buy them, he would be my choice. He would be my choice. Completely, and that's what I was angling at before. He would be the one that have Pookie, Pookie for me.
What about Josh King?
Yeah.
But he's got lots of injuries there, hasn't he? I mean,
he's been linked. He's been linked to United before, and I just can't see West Ham being able to pull off Josh King. I think between him and Callum Wilson, Wilson's the more realistic one. The but to that is he does come with really bad injury record as well, and that I can't help it. And I know that people are commenting in there saying you can't keep bringing up, you can't just not sign a player because of their injury record. But we are West Ham, and we are known for having a terrible injury record. But I get it. I like Callum Wilson. I think he's a good player. I think he's got great ability. He scores a lot of goals. He has bounced back from his injuries, and he's probably found his best form that he's ever had. And Nigel, you were kind of, when you seen his image there, you were like, I'd have him, no problem at all.
No, Pookie for me all day long. Pookie all day long. I can practice my finish then.
What do you reckon,
Pookie has got the ability to.
Saying no, look. It's not happening.
I ain't got the money.
He does make the good runs. He can make good runs for the ball, and I think we just need someone up top to support whatever we're going to do moving forward. And Pookie could be.
Pookie scored in the first part of the season. He was scoring some great goals. Last season or whenever it was, he was scoring for fun. So let's not write him off. I think he's a great player, lots of energy, and I think he worked well. But let's not forget we've got players in our ranks that could already serve that come into the first team, certainly come onto the matchday subs bench. Nathan Holland. What's up with him? He's come back from Oxford, hasn't he?
No, he's another one that has in the kids that I said the other night on the podcast, he was another one that I said that needs to, a young hammer of the year, even though he never played for us. It's quite funnily. But at the end of the day, I know Oxford loved what he did. I don't know if he made the team of the Division 2 team of the season. The give out awards, so he was loved at Oxford. He's obviously done well, deserves to have a chance, and that's what I'm saying. I know that sometimes this is what happens. Chelsea had a transfer ban last year. From that, they went up front with Tanya Abrahams, and then they had to put Mason Mount in and everything else. People were thinking Chelsea were going to nosedive. Look what happened. Yeah. So therefore, this is how you discover whether your kids are good enough. Generally, by accident. Because what happens is you get forced to play them, and then Harry Kane was out on loan, and then they brought in the manager who had been the youth coach, Tim, whatever his name is,
Sherwood.
He comes in, puts Harry Kane on, scores. Couldn't drop him then. But he only played because they were injured and they'd run out of players. And from that,
and you could argue the same thing with our right back. We ended up having to play last season. We ended up having to play Ben Johnson, and he did really well. And he was earmarked to come into the first team, only through injury that stopped it. And this season we found Ngakia, and that was only because we were forced to, because we had injuries there. So I totally agree. I don't think it's the end of the world. If you want to freshen up the squad, you freshen it up with your young players who have got a potential to make it through. Totally agree.
Sully agrees because it saves him a lot of money. You need to get a puppet, and because you sort of look like you're left over from children's TV. Where's Gordon the Gopher?
I'll tell you what. In order to keep him awake, why don't we go for your two, Ant? Come on, mate.
I'm really struggling. I don't know what's wrong. I'm actually nearly sleeping.
It's that broom
I mean, we're that boring. Boring. I mean,
it's Sean's little doll he's got down there.
It was Sean's monologue, wasn't it? It was
just gone on that.
Not recovered.
Listen, I'll give you one player. We've spoken about loads. Eze from QPR. I'm really intrigued in him. But I'll talk to you about Maja. Currently plying his trade for Bordeaux, formerly of Sunderland. You'll have seen, if you've watched that program, Sunderland. Is it Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix?
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you have watched it. It was a great program. I enjoyed it because it gave you really good insight. It's not like the one on Amazon because they don't go too in depth with the player negotiations. But with this one, because it was a lower league club, you actually got to sit in and listen to a lot of the negotiations. But what you got to see was the quality.
Car crash of a football club. That's what you got to see.
Absolutely. But similarities.
Oh, yeah.
But what you got to see was Maja play, albeit in League One. Not going to deny that. It was in League One. But West Ham were linked to him before, and we had a really good opportunity to bring him to the club, but we didn't follow through with it, and he's gone off to Bordeaux. He's took his chance, and he wasn't in the squad, and he wasn't playing week in and week out, but he's ended up banging something like 9 to 10 goals in about 20 appearances. The thing you'll see with him, though, is he's absolutely, someone made the comment there about Pukki and Haller up top together, it would be too slow. See, when Maja gets the ball in the box, he is lethal. That's his strength. He plays inside that box. He actually plays with his feet in the box. He's not about, quickly laying it off and making a run to find in. As long as he's in that 18-yard line, you feed the ball through to him, and he is extremely clever on that ball. He can turn a defender, no problem at all, and he can find the net. Now, yes, I know he scored a lot of goals in League One, but he has transformed that form into the League One in France. And there was a reason why clubs were sniffing around them. And for me, I think Bordeaux are struggling financially due to the pandemic. Yep. So they're looking to sell. They haven't particularly said that they want to get rid of Maja, but I would not be surprised if he would want to come back after showing what he has done out there. So for me, it's a no-brainer. If we can find some money, we could be looking at 12, 13, 14 million. It could be more depending if Bordeaux push it out. But I think it would drop because they are desperate to sell. And for me, I would love to see him. I don't know if any of you guys have seen a bit of him before.
I've read about him because I know you did a show on him, and
Dave's wallet is empty. Look at that. Look how battered that wallet is. Look, he's used that as obviously his personal wallet because he's used it a lot.
That is subject to selling players. That is, of course.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good shout. I think the fact that he's had experience. He played under Moyes, didn't he, when he was at Sunderland?
Oh yeah, I mean,
right?
Moyes was the one that gave him
not sure. No, I think he came in the championship year at the end, and I think he got a few goals, and then out of necessity, they then played him in League One, and he scored a lot of goals. But the problem was he wouldn't sign a new contract.
Yeah.
So they were forced to. I don't know if he left, but they were forced to. They lost him for nothing. It didn't end well.
I think Moyes brought him into the squad. I think Moyes brought him into the first team squad. Initially, he saw something in him back then, but I don't know if he actually did play him or not at the time. I don't know if he came on and made a substitute appearance, but I mean, yeah, he's a no-brainer. But we have to sell. We have to get money to generate income. But loads of comments coming in. People are talking about Lallana, but I think he's gone to Brighton. And I tell you what,
he has gone to Brighton.
And he's not the right age either. You know, he's not the. And someone mentioned here Morgan Sanson. They want something like 30 million for him, and we've done shows on him before, and he'd just be too.
Listen, we can't afford Kenny Sanson at the moment, and he's only available for a bottle of beer. I mean,
let's not take away from the fact that Lallana would have been a typical West Ham signing 2 years ago.
A few years back, yeah, absolutely.
So,
right.
Who else are we going to discuss then? Should we do a couple before we go?
Alf, your two, mate.
Oh, okay. I'll be very quick. I chose a championship player, and I chose a raiding player of one of the teams that just gone down. Right, Omar Richards, Reading, highly rated left back. So did quite well this season. I haven't got the actual stats with me, but he's done very well. I've seen him a couple of times actually. Really good. A couple of other players at Reading as well. Swifty, yeah, that was a good shout actually. Whoever had that, I know him as a local lad, and Russ. Also, Russ, that's right. And Liam Moore, he's had a couple of good, decent seasons there in defence. But here we go for Norwich. Max Aarons as well, left back, pretty much. I've seen him, not so much I know what his stats are, it's more that I've seen a couple of games with Norwich this season, just on the TV, and I thought he's always had a decent game. But he's been in a really poor team that have just lost loads of goals. Conceded loads of goals and lost all those matches. So, but
I'll tell you what
as a second left back. Not as our first left back but our second left back. I'll definitely go for him. Yeah.
What I do know about him is he's extremely pacey. He's extremely fast. Yeah. He has made over 70 appearances for Norwich. A young lad, 20 years old. You know, there's a theme about the players we're looking at. Again, we would have been talking about the players of the past linked to John Stones, but he's still 26. You know, I don't know. I like the two players you mentioned there in particular. Aaron's from Norwich. I think he's a clever player, but I think he maybe got enough in that position, to be honest, with Ben Johnson and Fredericks. I think people are talking about Fredericks potentially going to Southampton, I don't see why. Well, then I was going to say I don't see why he would go, but if Johnson's pushing for a start, Fredericks is going to want to play, and if I could potentially see a deal there, and West Ham might need to bring in another young player. And that could be the reason why we need to do it. But if Fredericks decides to stay, Fredericks and Johnson are enough for me in that position. It would just need to be the left back. We'd need to shore up on. And I'm
not totally convinced by Fredericks as being Mr. Reliable though. That's my only problem with him. You know, I would like to have a bit more competition there. Johnson, I think, is still a bit of an unknown entity. Lots of potential, which we should keep. But I'm still, time will tell, of course. Yeah. But Fredericks, I think I love Fredericks' pace. I love when he bombs down, but his delivery, final ball delivery, and also his defensive qualities. That's what still,
absolutely.
Yeah.
A common theme there with defenders, 100%. I mean, everyone tonight, apart from I think yourself, Nigel, Matt mentioned a striker. I mentioned a striker, but loads of people are saying that. I think Alf did mean to say left back. I think, to be honest, we've been talking about right backs, left backs.
Yeah, I got mixed up. I do apologise. I shouldn't drag myself off now for making such a terrible mistake.
Let's see if you can speed up this process and get your two in.
Right. Well, I can't remember which two I ended up going for. So let me. I'm going for two freebies. Mario Götze, because he's free and he plays central midfield, and he could, we need maybe someone who may be a little bit creative in midfield. He's someone that could maybe fill that slot, and the only thing we'd have to pay for is his salary. So
can we bring someone of that quality into the club?
I think we can. I think he's not had a great season at the season just passed, and people are talking about, his best is past him. But he's still only 28 years of age, so he may be a little bit too old. I know Sean said earlier that Moyes isn't looking for anyone over 25 or something like that, but I think it'd be a bit risky if you bring too many young players in. So I think Goetz is a good shout because he's an experienced pro. Very decent player, and like Sean, Nigel said a moment ago, just because the player has one bad season doesn't make them a bad player. It just means that they've had one bad season. So for me, I don't think we'll get him, but I think he's someone that should be of interest to us because he's free.
and still, he reminds you growing up on that farm in Cyprus when you had to tend the goats. So. And pick out the one with the kebabs.
Not that many farms in Islington, mate. But there you go. I get it.
Bloody hell! I thought I was going off tangent. Bloody hell!
I got it. But yeah. And the other freebie for me is Ryan Fraser. Again, he's about 27 years of age, something like that. Again, he's not. It's really interesting because. Everyone goes on about Fraser saying he's brilliant, we should get him, he's absolutely an amazing player. He's got exactly the same stats this season as Anderson, 1 goal, 4 assists, and yet we all say Anderson is shit and we all say Fraser is brilliant. Well, come on, you can't have it both ways. So I think
off the back of that, you want to sign him.
Well, I'm not saying that Anderson's a bad player. I'm not saying Anderson's a bad player. So
season though. Anyway,
sorry, mate.
Was he injured a lot this season? Anyway,
I don't know.
Did he not refuse to play? Have I got this right?
He did what Ngakia did. He said he didn't want to sign the extended contract to the end. To the end of the actual season. So. What's his name said, well, he ain't playing anymore, and he missed, I think, the last 6 or 7 or 8 games or something like that.
He's a Scottish international. Started his career off at Aberdeen, went to Bournemouth, signed on loan to Ipswich, and then obviously came back to Bournemouth Town. He's got 20 goals in his career, about 20 goals.
Yeah, he's not prolific, but
look, we got this in from Carl. We just got this in from Carl.
I'm a Bournemouth fan. Believe me, you wouldn't want Fraser. Terrible temperament. He'll do well in West Ham then, mate, to be honest.
We love those kind of players, don't we?
We love people with terrible temperaments. There you go.
Just add to the equation Morelos as well, and then we'll be sorted.
Now, because I've given you 2 freebies, I'm going to throw 2 more in because they're players.
Wait a minute. Well, I was accused earlier on by somebody, words and pictures, I think, saying that I can't count because I went over 2 players. There we go. Come on.
But Stell's using the Greek alphabet, so
I'm using there you go.
So he gets to add a few more in.
Very quickly,
your fans won't criticise you because they all love you. That's what.
There you go. Very quickly, Jay De Silva, left back from Bristol City, 22 years of age. He's worth about £4 million. He might be someone that we could go for. He's apparently a decent left back. And Shane Duffy. There you go. We need a hard as nails centre back. And Shane Duffy would be another choice because we need a bit of a James Collins type player, don't we? And maybe Duffy might be that sort of player.
I think you mean Winston Reid, mate.
Winston Reid is finished, mate. Has been finished for a long time.
Congratulations. Hold on. Congratulations to Winston Reid, who we signed, spent 10 years at the club. And since he has been injured, we have been shit in defence.
Yeah. Since he's been injured, I mean, he went out to America to get acclimatized to play football. He hasn't kicked a ball out there, mate.
No, that's not his fault.
The guy's
Have you not noticed the pandemic?
Yeah, but also, hold on a minute. Stel, hold on a minute. He went to Kansas. They have tornadoes over there. The tornado picked up the ball and blew it away. He tried to kick it, got nowhere near it. Tornadoes, mate. That's what it is.
It's does he get a testimonial though?
Has he finished? Has he finished?
Done 10 years though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's not played for the last 4.
Oh, shut up.
He's not played for what?
Anyway,
I need that button. I'll tell you. Sean's on. Fuck off you. Oh, he's back.
Shepherd's crook, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you need. Still knows about shepherd's crooks.
I'd love Winston Reid to come back, but we know it's never going to happen. So what's the point of carrying on? We know Angelo Ogbonna should have been Hammer of the Year and got robbed of it by Declan because
I just muted him. He's still talking and no one can hear him, so it's fine.
Anyway, listen. Before we end the show, just got to tell everybody about my show tomorrow night. If you're interested, if you're all watching, I'm having a special show, live Q&A session from about 7:30 onwards. It's going to go on for about 3 hours, I'm sure. And I'm going to be talking about the West Ham Galacticos. Yeah, your best starting 11 West Ham players and subs bench of players all around the world, past and present, that have never played for West Ham, but could have played for West Ham, and they'd be brilliant. So we're talking about the West Ham Galacticos tomorrow. You've got to come and watch that.
That's 2 hours of our show going to be taken down for copyright there.
No, because
that
is because that's my singing.
All right.
I didn't understand. What was it they were singing?
Yeah, you're new to West Ham, aren't you, mate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we done? We've done 2.5. You know what? Another 32 minutes, and we'll beat more than just the podcast record.
Mate, you ain't up to 3 hours yet. It takes a certain type of skill to be able to. And basically, what you need is hour and a half of Sean telling you a load of guff that he's put on Claret and Hugh.
Have you noticed, Sean's still here? Have you noticed how many times he mentioned? I wrote an article about that. I'm about to write an article about that. You know what, Sean? I'd really love you to write an article about tonight's show. Why don't you do that for us? Don't you think that'd be a good thing?
How good am I though? Did you notice that Sean said I'm writing an article in Nigel's name? That's how good am I? I don't know if it's like I can get someone now to write an article for me for their own website, and they just put my name to it.
That's I think that's what Sean should do for us tomorrow. On Irons United exclusive.
Let's make this really interesting, Nigel. I'm going to ask you to end the show for us.
Oh,
now you put him on the spot.
Right, end the show. What do you want me to say? Good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Yeah, but that's how we usually do it as well.
Dear.
Are we done? 2.5 hours. Are we done?
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the comment button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you check out the real history of West Ham. Nigel's
good show.
So he's on episode 3. Great insight. Great, really good knowledge. So get on that and get listening. You really enjoy it. And tune in tomorrow night.
For my show tomorrow night. Live Q&A. Ask anything you want. We're going to be talking about West Ham Galacticos.
What time are you starting at?
Hey?
What time are you starting at?
I'll be starting my wittering on from about 7:30 onwards, and I should continue on until the electricity meter runs out.
Alf's never late either.
That's right, always on time, mate. Always on time.
Not like some that say like 10 o'clock and then starts at 10:20. You know.
Here we go. Look. Oh, I love this from Tommy. Here we go. Is Alf still bored? Oh, Tommy. Oh, just get rid of
that. Thanks for staying with us all night. I've been Anton, he's been Alf, he's been Nigel, he's been Stell. Sorry we were late, but that's all his fault, wherever he is.
It's David Sullivan's fault.
He's been
bobblehead.
Yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, blah 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 blah. Come on, you.
Thank you all for watching.
Thanks to all our guests. That's Sean, Sess. Who?
No, don't thank him.
Matt. Rich. Is that it? No.
Matt, Rich, Sean, Sess, Nigel.
It'd be good.
Russ. Oh yeah, Russ.
I knew there was somebody else as well. Oh, and Nigel as well. All right, and Nigel.
Russ was on over 2 hours ago. No wonder we forgot.
Yeah.
Take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. See you later, guys.